Call meeting to order of the Brownsville Independent School District's Board of Trustees, regular board meeting scheduled for June 13, 2006 at 5:30 at the Administration Building. Will everyone please rise for a moment of silence and pledge of allegiance? Roll call. Peter, everyone is here with the exception of Mr. Colunga, and did he notify us? No, so I guess we'll expect. Okay. We do have a quorum. Number 5, recommend approving the agenda of the regular board meeting of June 13, 2006 with any corrections. Dr. Salkowski.
Mr. President, under bids, item A27 will not be addressed in tonight's meeting.
7 is pulled in, huh?
Sir.
Any additions?
No, sir, not at this time.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the June 13, 2006 regular board meeting minutes?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your hand, saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Move on to 6. Recommend approving the minutes of the regular board meeting of May 16, 2006, the minutes of the special call board meeting of May 25th, 2006, held at 4:30 p.m., and the minutes of the special call board meeting of May 25th, 2006, held at 5:30 p.m. with any corrections. Mr. Munoz, you have
Mr. President, I have one addition I would like to make to the minutes of the special call board meeting of May 25th, held at 4:30.
you want to pick up your mic?
It's on page 15. If you'll, I would like to add an item between the, you see where it says motion was made by Mr. Aguilar, seconded. Right above that, I would like to add, this was that, we didn't need to read it again. Right in between those two items, add, as requested by BISD canvassing board members at the 5/22 canvass meeting, individual election day voting returns were furnished at this meeting for 32 voting locations, inclusive of 8 additional combined election precincts, for a total of 40 BISD/county election precincts, period. This additional canvassing data, along with letter and communication exhibits A through H and other documents explaining election problems and procedures prescribed and suggested by the Elections Division of the Secretary of State of Texas, satisfied BISD Canvassing Authority and board members. And then we can go to motion was made by Mr. Aguilar.
Dr. Salkowski, is that acceptable?
Mr. Saldana, is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Very good.
You can just get a copy from Mr. Munoz to
Get
make.
a copy of Mr. Munoz so we get it correct. Thank you.
Any other comments? Mr. Munoz?
Thank you.
That's it? Okay, is there a motion to accept item 6, Roman numeral 6, as read?
I so move.
There's a motion to accept. Second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second to accept. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Raising your hand. Aye. Motion carries. Move on to 7. Superintendent's Report A, Conference Presentation 1, recognition of State Science Fair winner and International Science and Engineering Fair participants and sponsors. Dr. Salkowski.
Tonight we're proud to have some students from Pace High School and Olivera Middle School, and I'm going to have Mr. Greg Garcia help us with the presentation. Also, I'd like to thank Mr. Mike Baldwin, our elementary science specialist, who also serves on he's director of the Rio Grande Valley Science Engineering Fair, and with the assistance of UTB and the volunteers from Rio Grande Associates, Mr. Baldwin has always organized our science fair. So, Mr. Baldwin, would you mind joining Mr. Greg Garcia, please?
Mr. Board President, my name is Greg Garcia, Secondary Science Specialist. Dr. Sokolsky, members of the Board of Trustees.
It is our pleasure to present the winners of the Texas State Science and Engineering Fair and the participants of the International Science and Engineering Fair and their respective sponsors. We were well represented at the State Science Fair as well as at the International Fair. First, let me present Karen Ama, first place at regionals and second place at state in the biochemistry division. She is from Vela Middle School. Karen's sponsor is Ms. Georgiana Wilson, 8th grade science teacher at Vela Middle School. Ms. Wilson, please stand. She also serves as the science department chair at Vela. Thank you so much, Ms. Wilson. The following high school students participated in the International Science and Engineering Fair held at Indianapolis, Indiana on May 7th through May 13th, 2006. These students advanced after being awarded Grand Champion Individual and Grand Champion Team at the Rio Grande Valley Science and Engineering Fair held at UT Brownsville. Adan Lopez, please stand. First place at Regionals, Grand Champion, Environmental Science Division. Adan's sponsor is Ms. Dora Lopez. Please stand and remain standing. She is also a science teacher at Pace High School. Laura Torres and Daniel Caballero, please stand. They received a first place in the team division. They were Grand Champion honors from Pace High School. While at the International Science Fair, Laura and Danielle also received a special award from the American Meteorological Society. I would also like to recognize Adan, who got a special award from the Center of Naval Research for his project. Their sponsor, Ms. Lopez, has served as a mentor to other students and teachers at Pace High School for several years. Thank you, Ms. Lopez, for your hard work.
Congratulations, man. Sponsor? Where's the sponsor?
Thank you very much. No, item 2, recognition of the HEB District Award. Doctor?
It's my pleasure to introduce from HEB the unit director and team leader of the Brownsville, Port Isabel area, Mr. Dan Martin.
Good evening, Dr. Kowalski, board members, and board president. Thank you for allowing me to attend your meeting tonight. And as you know, in January of 2006, we kicked off our Excellence in Education Award here at Lopez High School, where we awarded a principal, Maggie Gutierrez, a $10,000 award, and the school a $25,000 award. And now we're at that time of year again whenever we have the finalists and the semifinalists. What I'd like to do now is announce that the Brownsville Independent School District has been awarded a semifinalist presentation for this year in the first year of district competition. So if you would allow me to present a little token of our appreciation, a plaque and so forth, for all you do for our community and for the teachers and the way that you represent our children. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. we should be thanking him.
Kind of hurt my feelings.
No, it was the.
Training money we raised.
Right?
Some people.
Yeah. Back in 1932.
Now the golf tournament.
Let's have another golf tournament.
We needed a golf tournament.
Thank you very much. Now we move on to item 3, presentation of the bond program. Dr. Solkowski.
We have our financial advisors with us tonight, Bob Estrada and his assistant. So I'm going to turn it over to Bob.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Mr. Chairman, board members, superintendent. My colleague, Mr. Sammy Carranza, is passing out a presentation that we have for the board this evening. We're leaving you some information about the bond issuance process. First of all, I think I certainly should congratulate the leadership of this district and really the voters of the entire Brownsville Independent School District for their vision in approving this bond election last month, and for providing these much-needed capital improvements to the district that it certainly are dollars that will be well spent. Now that we have the voted authority from the voters of the district, it's time to start planning for the bond issuance, and the thing that we would like to do and recommend to the district is for you to move quickly to both take advantage of the state assistance that is available to this district in the issuance of your bond that significantly supplements the debt service on these bonds that will be issued, and also to take advantage of what are still relatively historically low interest rates. As most of you know who are watching the markets, interest rates continue to rise steadily across the board, and there doesn't seem to be any end in sight currently, according to all the economic predictors. So I think it would certainly behoove this district to go ahead and issue the full amount of your voted debt at this time and fix it in at rates that predictably will be lower than they'll be 6 months or a year from now. And really, I would like to maybe start, we're giving you a lot of information here that you can look at your leisure, and certainly feel free to call any of our professionals in our office or call me directly with any questions you have, but really might start a little bit backwards here. If you'll turn with me to page 22 of your presentation, this is the timetable that we're proposing to the district. It's one that we've sat down with your chief financial officer, Mr. Sanchez, and his staff, and planned this, starting with the submission, which has already been done, of your application for TEA assistance out of the Instructional Facilities Allotment Fund, and that's already in Austin. Following that, we'll begin all the preparations that are itemized there in the timetable in front of you, moving to the point in late mid-July where we'll submit an application to the state again for the guarantee on these bonds that will make these bonds equivalent to a AAA rated bond, the PSF, Permanent School Fund Guarantee, that goes with that at no cost to the district. That is something that we will have as part of the ongoing schedule. We'll also need to update your ratings from the rating agencies. Even though your PSF guarantee makes these bonds AAA rated, a lot of the big investment funds that will buy these bonds still want to know what the underlying credit rating of an issuer is, and that's very important. Many of their own internal policies do not allow them to buy certain graded investments, even if they are guaranteed by the state. So it's very important for us to get you in front of those rating agencies and update that procedure, and I think you've got a good story to tell, good solid numbers, good solid management that reinforces all the good things they've said about you in the past. That'll be part of the process, as you see there, last week of July, first week of August, if not sooner. We'll then proceed to get the underwriters ready to price the bonds into the marketplace, tentatively looking at August the 14th to actually get all the orders from the investors through your underwriting syndicate, come to you the next day on August the 15th at your regularly scheduled board meeting to approve that sale of the bonds, and then move from there to get the Attorney General to approve the transcript, make all the final conclusions, and close on the bond sale by September the 21st, have the funds wired into your account, and begin the construction and improvements that are called for. Going back from that page, probably the next main question that you would have is on page 20. We've run there a printout. Looks a little daunting at first glance, but I think you can break it down and look at the numbers there on page 20 are what we anticipate to be the tax impact on your tax rate from the issuance of the additional $135 million of proceeds. And we've shown that as it's shown next to your existing debt that you're already paying debt service on. That's bonds that have been issued in the past that have not matured and been paid off. And then you've got the two red columns. Those are the contributions. The red ink shows the contributions that the state is already making in the first column to your existing outstanding bonds as a supplemental amount of your debt service, and then what we anticipate your contribution will be on this issuance of 2006 bonds, which we hope will be at that 76.24% supplement. And when you subtract those amounts that the state is pitching in, then you've got what is your net debt service requirement and the tax rate next to it in the next column that you would have to assess to maintain that debt service. So the assumptions we've used, I think, are all very much in line, very conservative. We've timed it to the market right now, the current market price for this type of a bond issue. We've assumed no growth in the AV. Which they like to see that, again, as a conservative assumption. And we've shown that all the debt will play out as shown there. So I think it will have certainly very much in line with what you assured the voters the impact would be on the approval of this type of bond issue. In front of that, we've got, I won't read it to you, but we've got really all the basic elements. Some of you are familiar with this that have been here when previous bonds were issued, the process you go through of selecting underwriters. We've got a team of underwriters that we're recommending to you that is shown on page 7 that have served you in the past and done a good job for this district. Some newer firms that maybe have not been on the last issue. Provides a good mix of national and regional firms that can certainly get the broad base of investors and both retail and institutional investors that would take this that it would take to get this size of bond issuance sold and spoken for. And with your assent, we will go ahead and continue to work with your chief financial officer to notify those firms of the anticipated bond issuance and sale in July and get them working on that. We also have done some planning beginning on page 9. I won't go into all the details that we present to you there, but we're in a market period where it would be very beneficial to the district to enter into a what is called a flexible repurchase agreement for the investment of the proceeds. You obviously won't use all the money that you receive immediately after the closing of the bond sale the very next day, and so it's prudent for you to find a way of investing those funds until they need to be used in a way that maximizes the interest return to you. And right now is a good time to do this particular type of investment. Again, we'll be working with your financial staff daily and won't make any decisions on your behalf without everybody's input here, but that's something we would recommend that you pursue, and we'll continue to keep you apprised of that. If there are any specific questions that I can help with, I'd be happy to address those.
I have a few, but I'll open it up to the board, and thank you very much, Mr. Estrada. But these are Brownsville numbers this time, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I'll open it up for the board for any comments. And that I have a few on page 20. Now, we in accordance with page 22 on the timetable of events, if we do consummate the entire issue, we're looking at September 21st as the closing of the bond sale.
Yes, and the day that the funds transfer to the district.
So why are we showing such a large debt due on the first year? 206 on page 20. I guess Am I reading this correctly? Because we shouldn't have any debt, really. Or am I reading this wrong?
Actually,
look.
there'll be very little in, on the new issuance. If you see the 2006 line,
So the red item is nothing, then? So
Right.
that we shouldn't have any debt, so
yeah.
what is the
There'll be no
total net?
assistance in 2006. It kicks in 2007.
And so
debt
it should,
service.
right, correct.
Right.
So what is that 1.7 million on total net debt service requirements?
That's on your existing debt that's already outstanding, less
okay,
the
gotcha.
IFA for that.
Okay. Any further comments? Okay. You want to, Dr. Solkowski?
And we'll have one sale, correct, Mr. Serrano?
Yes, that's right.
Which will save us on a total of administrative fees, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. It's certainly a lot more cost efficient to do one sale all at once and certainly
And it will
save you-
maximize the IFA at the same time, right?
Exactly, we're maximizing that. And again, as I said earlier, assuming the Federal Reserve continues to ratchet rates up, this is a good time to lock in where the rates are.
Thank you.
Now, there is a question that we need to address. Funds, since the first three referendums were specific, what happens when we complete those specific projects and there's surplus money?
Well, we will check with, we'll be in consultation with your bond lawyers, your bond counsel, tax counsel, actually, within your bond counsel firm.
Well, I think we've already, I think there's already something on file. I think we requested that.
Okay, good.
So
Okay,
we need
well,
an
that's already
answer,
covered, and
so-
then there'll be appropriate transfers from that fund and release of excess funds as soon as those bonds.
So the question would be, did we get an answer? Are they usable? I mean, I guess, are they restricted or can we use them? Once we satisfy the specific requirements of the bond issue. Dr. Solkowski?
Mr. Sanchez.
I have made that request out of bond counsel, Jeffrey Coons, and he has written a letter, which we have on file, in which he stipulates that once we have made the appropriate investments in all the construction projects, the two elementaries, the middle school, the high school, and then proposition for all of that, we must accomplish all of that. That any excess funds could be used by the district in additional construction. But
Okay,
we must first meet the obligations, because that was part of our contract to the community, that we would get all these projects completed. And and of course, what we have done is to make sure that we have reserved our $135 million in Austin. And we want to take the full benefit of those $135 million. And as the projects come in and they come under budget, and that's what we're talking about. But as long as we have provided the community with the complete construction of each and every project as specified in the sale, when we sold it to the community, then those excess funds, according to our council, can be used for other construction
So
projects.
once specific projects have been satisfied.
All of them.
Well, I think we had 1, 2, and 3. I don't think 4 was specific. That was my understanding. So I just want to make sure we have.
4 was general.
Yes, so the specific would be the two elementaries, the middle school, and the high school.
And then all the
Any surplus, then we can appropriate and use as we feel that we need to use.
Right.
Correct. Okay, that was my
On
question.
capital expenditures.
Correct, that are qualified by IFA, we understand.
Mr. Lehman?
Yes, sir.
So, Dr. Zukoski, so what happens, Mr. Zukoski, Dr. Zukoski, Mr. Sanchez, when we were talking to the public and we told the taxpayers that any excess money in those items that we have to come back and ask them where they want it to be spent? What's going to happen to that message we told the public?
We'll have to get a message that we've got an official legal ruling from our council that we can spend it. We were under the impression we couldn't. And now that we have legal verification and documentation from our attorneys, we need to let our people know. Because in most districts, you would ask the people, but since legally, as long as you finish all of your propositions, you have that ability.
Which is fine. I mean, I'm going to go what's legal. My concern is that we always tell something to the public. It is later when it is approved that we go back and come up with all kinds of things. And this is one of the reasons the public never trusts us, because what we say to them, Later on, we use legal tactics, strategies to move to what's convenient to some of our administration or board, whatever it might be. I have a problem with that, Dr. Z.
Can I answer that, Doctor? I think in the past, to clarify, we haven't completed projects. This is specific. We must complete the projects that we set out and we specified in the bond covenants. So this is something that we want to make sure that if there's a surplus, once we complete all the projects that we told the public we're going to do, that money then is subject to what? And I think we're getting that answered today, Doctor.
We have the option to go back and ask the voters. We have an option not to, but the board could say, look, we want to go ahead and ask the voters that we can go ahead and spend. If we had $3 million to go spend it, you have the option of actually asking the voters. What the legal ruling says is you necessarily don't have to go and ask them. So it leaves both options open to the board at that time, that they may want to go back and ask approval for whatever money's left over, which I don't think will be a lot, because it's going to cost a lot to build those schools.
And I had another question and I forgot. Go ahead.
So just to clarify then, what we promised the public that we will be building, as far as schools, we will be building.
We're going to build those.
Well, they must be built, or they must be satisfied before we can do anything, if there's a surplus. I had another question, I forgot.
I have a question.
Yes, sir. That, Mr. Munoz.
On those restrictions, are those primarily from the note holders, or is that from the state of Texas? State of Texas. Okay. Well, in commenting on this subject, I think that the public will be satisfied if, in the case of the two elementary schools, they approved two elementary schools for $30 million. Certainly, they don't expect us to spend $30 million on two schools. They do expect to see at least two schools built. And I would think that if we build 2.5 or 3, I really don't see why we can't build 3 elementary schools for that same amount of money, why they wouldn't be thrilled with that fact. Certainly no one would be disappointed. And no, it will not take $20 million to build 2 elementary schools. $30 million.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Certainly will.
Additional comments? Okay. Mr. Estrada, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a great privilege to serve the district, and we're at your disposal if you have any other questions.
Let the record show, Peter, that Mr. Colunga has arrived, and he showed up at 6:45. Move on to item 4, presentation of the Brownsville Independent School District Quarterly Consultant Report for the third quarter of fiscal year 2005-2006. Dr. Sarkowski.
Mr. Sanchez, and I'll open it for comments.
Mr. Munoz?
Oh, yes. I'd like to thank you for pulling item 27. This is really about the same thing. 27 had 161 consultants, which we need a little more work on. I appreciate you pulling it. I did have some questions. This is roughly the same thing. Again, it's a list of the monies that we have spent for the 9-month period to date, $874,000 to date. The question that I have is, I noticed the top 3 or 4 or 5, Father Flanagan's boys' home. I understand that that was a contract and it exceeds $25,000. I'm wondering why these are even on this list. I think we asked that question once before. I'm surprised to see him here again.
Mr. Sanchez.
Well, because to be real honest, if I exclude them, then I may be asked about them. So I decided I would include all those that are board approved as well as the ones that are non-board approved. And I think this gives you a comprehensive overview of all the specific consultants that we have for the district. They're related. And as you notice, Mr. Munoz, they're particularly instructional in nature, and that's why we have brought to you a quarterly bid in February that we're trying to give as much flexibility to the campuses to select who they want to be successful at their campuses.
Okay. Well, I don't think that we would have faulted you if they weren't here, but it does bring up some questions. You know, we all know who most of these are. I do question. I recall that item number 6, Dr. Weber, who did the from the U of H, who did the curriculum study for us. If I'm not mistaken, that was around $95,000. Do you remember, Mr. Aguilar?
Close to 85.
85. So, but here on this report, it shows only $28,000 dispersed, and this has been about it's been quite a while. So I'm wondering, is this in addition to his contractual amount, or is this, he should be paid by now?
If you read at the top of the header, Mr. Munoz, it says cumulative through. So whatever his invoice, and I'm happy he hasn't invoiced me for $90,000 because my money's in the bank earning interest.
Yeah.
So as long as that happens, I'm real happy. So I'm not going to force
Maybe
the
he'll
issue
forget.
on Dr. Weber, sir.
Well, I was just concerned that perhaps this was something else in addition to the contractual amount. I don't recall item 7, Tyrone Anderson. I don't remember an award on that. Do you recall what that was for? That came to us as approving a contract? I don't recall that one. I'm just remiss.
Mr. Sanchez?
I think Dr. Hernandez might be
Dr.
able to-
Hernandez?
President Lehman, Dr. Solkowski, members of the board. Perhaps I could answer that one. Taryn Anderson did go to the board. She does a lot of work with our English language arts department, especially in the secondary level. We use her quite a bit.
Yes, but was it as a consultant
Question
or
is,
a
did it come
contract?
to the board?
It came to the board in February.
Okay.
For a specific contract?
I believe it came as a consultant during our
Well,
bid.
then it exceeds the $25,000 cap.
Sanchez,
That's
could
what
you
I'm
check
saying.
on that?
I don't recall it as a
Check on it.
contract.
We'll check on it. Let's do a little work on that one.
And let's see, Sharon Wells, that was a contract. I understand that would probably run down. We have her on the other list. Okay, thank you.
Check on that one. Anything else, Mr. Lehman? Any other questions? Thank you.
That's it?
We'll check it.
Move on to item 5, presentation on the rezoning plan for the 2006-2007 school year. Dr. Solkowski.
Ms. Fox has eloquently redid our zoning, and we have attached the information to your agenda. We'll be happy to take any questions, Ms. Fox and I, if there's any concerns. There wasn't that major rezoning. Major rezoning will come in a year or so when we add these schools. So this is minor balancing between elementaries that we felt like we needed to do. And we'll be happy to answer some questions.
Questions, Mr. Aguilar?
I didn't circle this item, but I just have a concern that it's nice to see it in the computer here and read. The colors are fantastic, but if I can't read it, that's not going to do any good to me. You see, the thing is, here we are talking about rezoning a certain section of town, which is very important. I know what
Yes, sir.
there's been doing. I would have preferred perhaps have a map where at least I can read the streets and know what they're talking about. I can read, but I cannot sometimes see this. And the way it's here in the computer, it's ridiculous.
You got to put it at 300%.
Even when you put in 300%, you can't even distinguish what's in there because it's out of focus.
Mr. Aguilar.
There are maps out there.
No, but we'll go ahead and send you some we'll get you some copies.
And see, what happens, Dr. Z, is that here we are trying to make a decision on some of this, and then I can't read this, what you sent us in a CD. Well, not you, but
We need to make sure. We'll get that to you. Mr. Sanchez, take a note. Get with Ms. Fox. Let's get that tomorrow.
Additional comments? Mr. Munoz? Mr. Colunga?
I mainly wanted to ask Dr. Z on the feeder plan and the rezoning. How is that working at this point to reduce the number of schools that feed a particular high school?
We've really done a good job with the feeder zone, and Ms. Fox kept that in mind as we were trying to maintain that. I think that's one of our success stories. It's kind of never mentioned, but we do have a direct feeder. We're also, once the new high school, new middle school gets set into place, we're going to have to break out a few of the feeders. And in the intermediate time while you're building those schools, you're going to add some elementary. So we're going to be splitting a few of those. So you'll divert from your plan maybe a couple of years, and then we'll be back at it when we finish those buildings.
Additional comments?
I had a question.
Yes.
What is the enrollment now for Ben Bright? What will the enrollment be?
Ms. Fox?
Approximately 700 for El Jardín, Southwest, and Ben Bright next year.
Split evenly.
I just see that enrollment's going down.
Right. And to be honest, what we're doing at El Jardín and also at Southmost is we will design classes with teachers that will actually move into Ben Bright so that they will have their original teachers. In December, no one will be uprooted. We will move everybody into that building probably either November, December, and the principal will be named tonight, hopefully, and we'll be working to fill those slots and custodial and things and make those decisions.
Additional comments? Thank you. We move on to 6, presentation of the 2006-2007 organizational chart. Dr. Sarkowski?
We've put a few things in that we've had. I just wanted to make sure, excuse me. We have a couple of vacancies that we're going to fill, but we had to rearrange a few things. Mainly, a couple of positions that we're asking for tonight are on here, which if they don't get approved, we can delete. But we feel like we need to strengthen up a couple of things. In personnel, we put an investigator. I think we've had 70 or 80 cases that we're investigating with different types of allegations under the personnel department. We do spend and tie people up with our hearing. I think we've had 100 and some odd, and when we get to that agenda item, we'll talk about it, but I think there's we've had so many people that we're having hearings with. A lot of them you don't ever see that we handle it at level 1 and level 2, and we'll give you those numbers later. But basically, it stayed the same for a couple of things, and we feel real comfortable with this. I just thought I'd share it with the board.
Comments? Questions? I have one, Doc.
Yes, sir.
Under the human resources, the investigator and the
Yes, sir.
hearing officer, I know they're on the agenda.
Yes, sir.
But I was looking at the requirements and I guess the pay grade and the amount of time or days, and they're similar. My only question, the hearing officer, since in the past, and you might ask the CFO as to the amount of money that we spent on hearing officers. I don't remember ever going over 40,000 on a budgeted item. So, and plus, I was looking at the job description. We have probably 30 or 40, maybe hearings, I don't know.
Right.
What happens when there's no work for the hearing officer and the investigator's probably going to be working? You just said you have how many hearings or how many investigations?
Mr. Pineda, give us some numbers on investigators and hearing.
This year alone, up until June 2nd, we had conducted 25 investigations for certified personnel and 21 investigations for classified personnel. And the investigation in and of itself entails quite a bit of work and legwork from the department, whereby the investigation comes in written form or could come in by virtue of a phone call. In turn, we have to ascertain a written report, look at the report, and make contact with a campus administrator or department administrator. In some cases, some of our cases involve students, at which time we have to make contact with BISD police and outside agencies as well. We also need to make contact with the building principal so that we can interview the student in question and maybe several students. Parents may want to be involved in the process. We also need to contact Monica's house. Any investigation in and of itself probably will take a staff member anywhere from a week and a half to up to 3 weeks all depending on the outside agencies and everyone coming together and looking at the reports, and also meeting with a representative of the employee if they have one, and when they come in, and how the investigation comes together.
How about the hearing officer?
Well, when the investigator, the staff member, so who's doing it right now?
Currently, it's Ms. Cuellar, Ms. Gavito, some of the specialists, myself. We do involve our chief. All of us are doing it in conjunction with everything else that we have going on.
And the investigator will have support services from
From the department and of
so
itself.
these investigations will move a little quicker.
We are hopeful that it will, sir. I'm afraid that we ourselves, and myself included, have probably held up the process because we have so many investigations going on simultaneously.
Okay, and then the hearing officer?
Mr. Pineda?
The hearing officer, we have conducted, as of June 2nd, my figures were 188 appeals, student appeals. What we've had from the employees of themselves have been 28 level 2 hearings.
How many?
28 level 2 hearings.
To date?
That we've, to June 2nd, that we have conducted.
So that's for the year?
Yes, sir.
That was my question. It seems like the investigator's bill is going to earn its money, or his or her money. The hearing officer's going to get a fingernail file and kind of take it easy. So on 22, so my why wasn't the idea, did you entertain the idea of combining those two positions?
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
And what was the scenario?
Impossible. Well, because you're going to have to be investigating. If I'm checking with CPS and I have to go and investigate and pull some records, I will not have time to prepare for level 2 hearing. Hearing officers have to prepare. Having a hearing is one thing. Preparing for it, getting the documentation is a whole different thing.
Mr. Lehman?
Yes, sir.
You'd also have an inherent conflict, investigator as opposed to a hearing officer, who would have to hear the evidence at first blush that is brought in or is in support of the administration's position at that point, and that would be inherently a conflict of interest.
So my question goes back, if I thought we'd had 30, maybe 40 at times, level 2, and we're talking level 2 hearings.
Yes, sir. And again, I'm going back to the student appeals. Currently, these are being handled by 2 separate departments. Student appeals are being handled through Ms. Pettis' department in conjunction with her other tasks, of which to date we've had 188.
And when you say a student appeal,
Disciplinary action.
it's a level 1, well, in this
At the
case.
campus,
It's
a hearing at the campus level.
Blown hearing officer.
So how did we handle appeals in the past?
They would go to the hearing officer. In past couple of years, they were going to a hearing officer.
So I didn't understand the 22 and the 130 then.
I'm sorry.
You gave me a number of 22 actual level 2 hearings, and now we have 130.
Okay, 28 have been employee grievances, level 2 grievances. 188 have been student level 2s.
Okay, now we're clarifying. Okay. Any further questions?
I had a question on the organizational chart. On the curriculum and instruction, I noticed 2 vacancies.
You know, we currently have an interim covering both those positions. We're going to plan on filling that. We also have an opening in professional development. So, we're going to go back and fill that in. So we've got 3 right in there we're going to get.
Additional comments?
We're going to cover this on 16 and 17 again.
Well, only those 2 items, not the entire organizational chart. Any other further comments on the full organizational chart?
One more comment.
Yes, ma'am.
I noticed that under curriculum and instruction, there are quite a few areas that they do cover compared to the other,
Right.
the listings, just as a noted.
Right. It is a bigger job. Thank you. I knew that.
Further comments? Thank you. Move on to B, Standing Board Agenda Item 7, Board Calendars. Dr. Solkowski.
Just to cover the calendars, I can say that there won't be much time in June, what's left of it. We have a lot of work to do. Tomorrow at 4:30 we have a curriculum meeting, and we will finish at 6:30. We have a 2-hour curriculum meeting. We have at 7 o'clock, we have graduation at Pace for the BLA students, and I believe we have over 50 Miss Moores working with Julia Trevino, and we're excited that we've had so many. On the 15th, we have a budget committee meeting at 5:30. On the 17th, we have a board retreat. Probably will go from 8:30 to around 11:30, looking at our goals and reviewing some successes. On the 20th, we have a regular board meeting at 5:30. Believe it or not, summer begins on the 21st. 22nd, the budget committee will meet again, trying to finalize some things. We feel comfortable the budget we're going to present you is pretty equitable. Of course, salaries and benefits are always the big question. On the 27th, we will adopt our budget, and that budget goes into effect July 1st. In July, you can see the office is closed, 3 through the 7. We have one board meeting, and that'll be on the 18th in July. And there's a couple of board workshops during that time.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. I gotta move all this here. Very busy.
Oh, we got to go.
What's that? And move on to item 8, public audience. The next item on our agenda is the public comment period. This is the time for citizens, staff, or students to provide their comments to the board. Statements and questions from the audience will not be permitted during other portions of the meeting, so please let us hear from you now if you have comments to present. To have your comments heard tonight, your name and the subject matter of your comments must appear on the sign-in sheet, which is located in the rear of the meeting room. Each speaker will be limited to 5 minutes to complete his or her comments. With all due courtesy, I will strictly enforce that time limit. If a group of people want to be heard on the same topic, the board asks that they designate a spokesperson to avoid needless repetition. The board has adopted rules to preclude the abuse of open forum by, for example, anyone uselessly repeating the same comment, complaint, meeting after meeting. All participants must understand that if your comment, in my judgment, constitutes a complaint against an employee or an officer, I will interrupt and ask you to stop and direct you to proceed with the BISD's formal grievance procedures, be that of DGBA, FNG, or GF local or local policy. With those cautions in mind, we will now be glad to hear the general comments. First person is George Borrego, miscellaneous.
Thank you, Mr. Lehman, members of the board, administrators, and all present here. Today we're going to be voting on item number 31, which is our medical insurance with Mutual of Omaha. The program is working very well. We have I believe, a $5 million surplus that you cannot spend. It belongs to the employees' insurance, and we have to keep it there in case we have a bad year, but at least we have something for a bad year. Claim payments have been going well. The TPA has been maintaining and controlling costs. I believe we have recommendations from everybody about approving Mutual of Omaha. I'm awaiting an email from God on that, but that's the only one that hasn't really formally approved it yet, but everybody else has. So it's up to you to renew and send a message to our providers that we fully support our TPA as they are in contract negotiations as we speak with our hospitals. If we do not approve today, we cripple their ability to negotiate good rates for our insurance plan. We have not had any raises in premiums because costs have been controlled and claims have been controlled. Let's keep up the good work. Where are we on master schedule? I'm hearing nasty rumors that we're going to have 9 periods in the high school. I hope not. And What we need to do is work together, administration and teachers, custodians, everybody, for the goal that we have of having our students be successful. I say we need to collaborate with each other, not decimate each other. And finally, on pay raises, we still want $5,000, but we might settle for $4,800. Y'all are very lucky that the state sent down $2,000. So you only have to worry about $2,800. I was in contact with Mr. Lucio's office this afternoon, and I asked his competent staff, if the state approved this money this year, can they take it back next year? I said, the state can do anything they want. Will they do it? And the answer was no. If they were to lower the pay for teachers in the state of Texas, they would be committing political suicide. That money has been given to the teachers, and it will be there for a long time. All bets are off if we have a major depression, of course. Classified, they need a decent raise, 7.5% across the board. No midpoints. Those are too confusing. Nobody knows what they're getting, and when they get it, they can't complain because they didn't know what they were going to get to begin with. 7.5% across the board. And our administrators work very hard. All of you, we appreciate you. And we want you to get 5%. That's if it's left over after all the other stuff. Thank you.
He's through.
Mr. Alberto Alegría, miscellaneous and pay raises.
Oh, George. Good evening, members of the board, President Lehman, Dr. Zukoski, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alberto Alegría, the proud president of the Association of Brownsville Educators. We dreamed, we believed, we became, we did. We dreamed that upon passing the bond issue, it would free up finances. We believed that upon passing the school bond propositions, these funds could improve salaries for all. We became involved in getting the vote out, and we did. I thank the Association of Brownsville Educators with the help of the administration, the school board, and the Brownsville Unions Coalition for this great feat. Today, we, the Association of Brownsville Educators, is continuing to recommend to this administration and this school board a $5,000 pay raise for teachers, a 10% across the board for the educational support professionals or classified. George, I don't know where you got your numbers from. And a 6% pay raise for administration. The $5,000 pay raise should include the $2,500 from the state, plus the Pat Lemon pay step, and the $1,800 from the district's fund balance, which totals roughly a $5,000 pay raise. This recommendation is fair and equitable for all the teachers, counselors, librarians, nurses of this great district. The pay increase that we continue to propose will place BISD employees much closer to the national average. Presently, we are seeing and hearing an alarming trend where teachers are having to work 2 jobs or even request a pay advance, for example, quick loans, just to make ends meet for that month. Ladies and gentlemen, what we, the Association of Brownsville Educators, are asking is only fair and equitable pay raises for all of those employees. We are recommending a 10% across the board pay raise for classified. George, again, I don't know where you got your information. And we must put a stop to the midpoint dilemma because it has because it has become discriminatory and demoralizing towards the long-term BISD employee. An employee of 20 years can wind up making less than the new employee hired from outside the district. It has occurred, and we must fix this salary loophole. We must protect our long-term dedicated employees. We must make a valiant effort in correcting this demoralizing practice and give true raises that are fair and equitable to all our classified employees of this great district. The Association of Brownsville Educators is recommending a 6% pay raise for all Brownsville ISD administrators. BISD administrators are also under great pressure to achieve and produce adequate tax scores. They, too, must be rewarded for their efforts in leading their teachers and staff towards improving student success. We must continue to educate our instructional leaders in regards to working with educators and staff in a positive learning environment. This will only assure that we reap and triumph the success of our students. Thank you, and have a great evening.
Thank you, Mr. Alegría. Next person is Jose Manuel Garza, committee meetings.
Good afternoon, President Lehman, board members, Dr. Solkowski. My name is Jose Manuel Garza. This afternoon, again, as my colleagues have already presented, there are going to be budget meetings and there are going to be curriculum meetings coming up this week and some later on this month. I encourage the BISD employees to attend these budget meetings. Here's where they get hurt. Again, I know the board, most of the board members do attend these meetings, these committee meetings. And again, here's where they hear the employees. They give them an opportunity to speak up, and they give them an opportunity to actually see what the employees have or what they take home. I encourage them to come to the budget meetings, one which will be held this coming Thursday, and the other one on the 22nd of this month. Getting off the topic up a little bit other than committee meetings, I also encourage the board members to actually look at the salaries. I know that the legislatures have met this with a special called meeting that they had, and again, they did take away the lawsuit that the Texas Supreme Court had already been given the legislatures, and they took that away. They did what they were supposed to do. What they gave us, some of it is good, and some of it is not good. $2,500 for all teachers, librarians, counselors, classroom teachers is good. But if you look at it, $2,500 and what they actually gave out, it doesn't look good. I know that the district's going to give us something, and it has to be more than $2,500. My colleagues have already said $5,000. Some have said $4,800. If I get $5,000, I'm pretty sure I am going to be happy, and most of the employees of this district will be happy. I will be pushing for that. Now, whether it's $5,000 or whether I come up to the budget committee meetings, and again, you give us the figures, let's work. We're willing to work together. The organizations that we represent, Mr. Alegría, Mr. Borregos, and myself, we will work together with the school district, but we need to work together. The monies are there. As the state has has had a surplus in several past years, I know that there's money that's going back into the general fund. And every time there's money that goes back into the general fund every year, the school district looks good, but it also puts a hindrance on the school district because the state looks at that too. So again, I encourage them, and again, we're looking good simply because we are passing a balanced budget. And with that passing of that balanced budget at the end of the school year, we always have a surplus which goes into the general fund. I do want to thank the citizens of Brownsville for passing the bond issues. And again, looking at what the state is coming through or what the state is giving out within the next maybe 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, those IFA monies are not going to be there. It may be maybe even taking 5 or 6 years before we get some of those monies back that are eligible for the school district to get some monies for facilities. They're not going to be there. And they're going to be long, and they're going to be short in coming. So thank you. Thank the citizens of Brownsville. And again, thank the teachers of Brownsville. And again, I encourage them to come to these committee meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garza. Move on to item Roman numeral 9, closed meeting as pursuant to the Texas Government Code Section 551.074 and 551.082. We go on to A, Level 3 Board Review and Grievance of number 8, Level 3 Grievance, Yesenia Maciel, number 004-05/06. Board reconvenes from closed meeting on A, Level 3 Board Review and Grievance to hear number 8. We'll take up 9, Board Action on Level 3 Grievance. Yesenia Maciel, number 004-05/06. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Lehman,
Yes, sir.
I move to uphold level 2.
Is there a
Second the motion.
There's a motion and second to uphold Level 2 Grievance on 004-05/06. All those in favor signify by raising your hand, saying aye. All those against? All those abstaining?
Mr. Lehman, please let the record reflect that I did not deliberate or discuss on this item, and I'm abstaining.
Okay, motion carries 6.
Mr. Lehman?
Yes, sir.
If the record can reflect that there was no evidence taken in the level 3, it was strictly deliberations. All evidence was taken at the previous meeting.
Correct. Thank you. Move on to Roman numeral 10, consent agenda. I have received a list from my colleagues indicating that there is no need for discussion or deliberation on the following agenda items. Under General Function A, recommend approval of the following general function items. Item 10, 12, 13, 14. Under C, recommend approval of the following budget amendments. Item 22. Under D, recommend approval of the following contracts and agreements. Item 25. Under E, recommend approval of the following bids. Number 26. 27 has been pulled. Under Roman numeral 11, closed meeting. A, personnel matters. Consent items are taken under item 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. Okay, 41.
That we need to discuss.
That we need to discuss?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just want to make sure. Okay, so we'll take 41 into executive session. Okay, and 42 and 43 will be discussed. Is there a motion to approve the consent items as read? There's a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor signify by raising hand, saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We'll take up item 11. Under A, recommend approval of the following general function items. 11, recommend approval to upgrade student accounting systems with pentamation in the amount of $242,634 from local maintenance funds for the 2005-2006 school year. Is there a motion to approve?
I move.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion, Mr. Munoz.
Yes, sir. I have several questions. First is, how much did we spend last year on this?
Mr. Werner.
Dr. Zolkowski, board members, this item is a purchase of software. We spent nothing on this last year. We purchased the software in, I believe, 1994. We paid $192,000 for it back then.
May I address Mr. Werner?
Dr. Zolkowski. Yes, sir.
Mr. Werner, so there are no maintenance or license fees?
Well, there is an annual maintenance fee we pay Penimation each year. But this is not, doesn't refer to licensing. our maintenance fees, this refers to an upgrade to the software itself.
Right. So the initial software was about 119,000.
192,000.
In 192.
192.
Oh, okay. And that was in 93 or 4?
In 1994.
Okay. And there is a maintenance fee or a license fee every year?
Yes, there's a software support fee that they send us each year.
Approximately how much is that?
I'm going to guess it's going to be in the neighborhood of $60,000. I don't have that information with me at the time.
So that will be, probably will continue in that ballpark on top
Yes,
of
sir.
this. Okay. The other item was, do you recall what we paid for the HP 9000?
Well, we've used several of them during the years. At the present time, we're using one we've had for about 2 years.
Yes.
And I think the value of it is somewhere around $400,000.
And question on this is, are we running the food service software on this HP?
No, we're not. They have their own system.
They have their own system. Okay. I see that that this software, this is Pentimation, which is very comprehensive. It has medical records software for 24,000, nearly 25,000. That's part of it.
Yes, sir.
Did it have it prior to this?
No, we're upgrading to the medical records application at this time.
So we will have access to this at every school.
Yes, the primary reason for this is that the state withdrawal form now prints immunization records, and we need this software in order to incorporate that feature within the software.
Okay, so this is becoming a universal
Yes, sir.
type software. I know everyone seems to be using this. Okay, that's it. Thank you, sir.
Additional comments?
I had a question.
Yes.
On I see that we're purchasing the master schedule building software. Will that help with student enrollment in classes?
Dr. Sarkowski.
Mr. Werner.
Well, the Master Schedule Builder is a new software product that Pentimation has introduced that will help the schools prepare their master schedules more appropriately and more efficiently.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Z, sir, would this also software would be able to track the at-risk students that we identify each year from each campus?
Well, they're currently being tracked within the software.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, no one can go into the computer and come out with the criteria.
Yes, sir.
Based on it. What we want to do is have a database that in every campus and all the kids identify at risk based on certain 13 criteria. So that during the year they can go ahead and assess to see if more students have become at risk or some have been removed.
Yes, sir.
The last time I looked into it, it was not possible to be done in your system that we have. They would cost us an additional $40,000 to come out with the program to do this. So I was wondering, now that we're going to have this extra, additional software, would they be able to do it?
I'm not sure what additional features this software incorporates in that respect. Okay. I do know this software is the latest version that they have offered and may very well accommodate that, but I wouldn't know without being able to check into it.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
It's the latest.
Additional comments? Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve item 11. All those in favor signify by raising your hand, saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimous. Move on to item 15, recommend approval of testing coordinator position at 187 days for the 2006-2007 school year. Is there a motion to approve?
Move. I second.
There's a motion and a second to approve. Discussion, Mr. Munoz.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Item 15. Yes, I've got it here somewhere. Okay. Well, let's see. This, what concerned me, and you mentioned it earlier on the general presentation, was that the job description and the pay and position as with the teacher's salary just they don't seem to be appropriate. I would think that this individual would have to be extremely well versed in the educational field and certainly have some standing with his peers principals and deans of instruction and so forth that he'd be working with. So I really I see these things as I see the requirements and the responsibilities as mismatched.
Dr. Zarkowski.
In visiting with our principals, we've looked for a testing coordinator. We thought about calling it something else. We talked about a teacher's salary because we have multiple tests given during the year. Currently, teachers are basically the one doing these testings, so it's not like there's an additional level. It's more of putting it together, getting it organized, and sending it off, and knowing it. We assign it to different people. We have monitors. We send actually people from central office to help monitor our testing program. The high school principals, when visiting with the principals and the teachers, we talked about different positions, maybe a professional registrar rather than one counselor doing that, just be a professional registrar, and they felt that the testing coordinator would be more appropriate on their campuses. And so as we are altering the master schedule so that we can meet the new guidelines that will start next year with freshmen, we really want to add a testing coordinator to each of the high schools, but we feel that a salary would be appropriate. It may need to be adjusted depending on the work later on, but we want to start it as that position because they don't test totally every day. They have a lot of testing. So I figure on the days that they're not testing, they'll be catching up and doing some other stuff. So we feel, and I know it could have been an administrative position, but we have teachers who know more about testing because they actually have given those tests and they know the rules and stuff. So we feel comfortable that there's some master teachers out there, and we will give them their years of credit to be this testing coordinator.
And this person will be under whose umbrella?
Campus principal. I see. And they'll report to the campus principal on testing, whether it's irregularities or anything that they have. But they'll have all year to plan for these tests and meet with the principals to make sure we have enough tests and coordinate it. Just 5 high schools.
And Doctor, when you say principals, this is at the elementary?
No, just at high school level, because of the number of students and the multiple tests that we give at high school.
So this person will have 5 bosses?
No, it's 5 people.
It's 5 people. There's 5 teachers.
You want 5 individuals?
1 for each high school.
There you go. Okay, great. Okay, Mr. Aguilar.
Yes, thank you, sir. Dr. Z, I was looking at the background on this position. It says to help the teachers with the data and identify areas of concern, including achievement among student groups. I thought that was the responsibility of the Dean of Instruction.
That is a responsibility. I think some of the disaggregation of the data needs to be given to the facilitator, who in turn gives it to the teacher. But because they're going to receive the data first.
The facilitator or the Dean of Instruction should be doing this right now.
The Dean of Instruction.
But I'm afraid that now, as we take some of these responsibilities, they're going to be used more as an administrative capacity rather than instructional. I mean, we all say no, but we go out there in the field, which sometimes has happened.
No.
So what I'm saying is I'm not against this position. What I'm saying is that we need to monitor these positions.
That's correct.
Because it has happened in the past.
I agree.
That some of these facilitators, or call them Dean of Instruction, have become more as an assistant principal rather than instruction. So actually we're taking some of these things. So now you mentioned something about that they're not going to be testing the whole year round.
No, not every day.
Okay, but there are SATs, ACTs,
right. They do all
other
that.
kinds of tests that they also could be coordinating all those other tests in the high school, not necessarily tax, but also the ACTs and all this other, that might relieve some of the, we hope, some of the responsibility that council can do some counseling.
I agree.
Is that possibility that we're looking at?
If I looked at the 2 positions, the Dean of Instruction not only monitors the instruction, but they also check for scope and sequence by course, by discipline. They look at the vertical and the horizontal alignment. They will look at the horizontal and vertical alignment, where this testing coordinator lines up these tests, make sure that everything is done right. Probably we'll get the printout back from our research department and we'll share that with the dean immediately, because the action taken from what the tests tell us needs to be handled by the Dean of Instruction, because the testing coordinator is not out there to go tell teachers that you have a gap in Objective 26. That is the dean's responsibility. But this is the person that actually lines that test up, gets that data back, and gives it to the dean so they can use it on the campus. But it will lighten some of the loads of the counselors who've been helping with this testing program.
Additional comments?
No, I was wondering because as a grade distribution to identify areas of concern, including achievement discrepancy among various student groups. My golly, that's what the Dean of Instruction does. So now we got two persons doing that. So this is what
I understand. In other words, if I'm the testing coordinator, I'm going to come back and say, here's what the data shows. Because see, I need to be able to tell the Dean of Instruction. Because I saw the research first and said, you're low in objective 26, you're low here. Then the dean needs to run with it. Now, the dean probably could decipher that for himself, but the testing coordinator needs to have that knowledge as they pass these tests and as they count for them.
Mr. Munoz?
And you say the testing coordinator would be report directly to the principal?
Yes, sir. They're responsible for the scores.
I see a conflict here in that the principal might use this testing coordinator to work over his dean, so to speak. I see problems there. I see problems there.
Well, the high school principals felt real comfortable with this plan. In fact, when we met, and we met 3 or 4 times on the master schedule, one of the things that remained throughout was the testing coordinator to help them get this job done because of the excess tests we have to take.
I just would think that he would probably need to be under the authority of the Dean of Instruction. When a Dean of Instruction is someone capable of being a principal.
Everyone answers to the principal on a campus.
Yes, but to have a teacher, so to speak, with a lot less experience than a Dean of Instruction, dictating to the dean, more or less, I want you to do this.
Well, he's not dictating. I didn't say he dictated.
Well,
I said we share.
He'd be disseminating, disaggregating information and making suggestions, I'm sure.
I don't think they'll make suggestions. They're going to hand them the data. That's their job. They're not there to go out.
They're not going to make any suggestions?
If the dean so wants, I mean, it really doesn't answer to the dean.
So
and this person is just passing on the data they received from assessment.
Clerical then?
No, it's not clerical. Because you could have irregularities in your testing system. This testing coordinator will be responsible for making sure everything is issued and everything is returned. There is some responsibility with this position.
Well, it says here, disaggregation, analyze, and test data, and grade distribution. So that was my concern, that this position is highly technical, yet to classify it where it is. Mr. Gala?
Mr. Lehman, also, I think, I could be wrong, normally the principal assigns a test coordinator in his campus every year, doesn't he? Or
That's
she?
true. But
so this would be now relieving somebody else of that position.
We have
Probably
an official
an assistant
person.
principal.
Rather than each year picking a new testing coordinator, or
Is there one consistent?
we have one person that is responsible for that testing on that campus.
Counselor?
Yes, sir.
For the purpose of semantics and clarification, the item, now I found out that there are 5 coordinators, and the item reads to create a testing coordinator position. It's understood that there are going to be 5. We haven't seen the budget yet, but should we put their positions?
That will help to clarify. Anything that we can do to clarify and make sure that the board knows what they're acting on, we should do.
I know, but we're calling it. I just want to make sure that that's the way it should be.
Mr. Lehman. Johnny?
Mr. Lehman, Dr. Z, perhaps a point of clarification would be in the background information. It says high school campuses require. So we do allude to it in the background information as to high school campuses.
That's why I said this person going to be jumping and have 5 bosses. So the clarification is, I know that we don't have the data or the actual, what do you call it, budgeted positions. So you're asking us to create a position.
Right.
But in a sense, you're asking us to create positions.
5 of them.
5 of them.
Yes,
so
sir.
that needs to be reflective on what we're going to vote, not what your intent is, and that's where we got into trouble before. What the intent wasn't specific enough. So that's why I'm asking legal counsel, what is your call for
I
clarification?
would go ahead and clarify it to make sure that the board knows and what it is they're taking action on.
Okay.
And modify the agenda item in order to reflect that there will be 5 positions.
Okay. Is that
We spelled it out in there, but we need to go ahead and put it in on top so everyone knows. 5 positions,
Want me to amend my motion?
please.
Well, just positions, and we understand.
I amend my motion to recommend approval of 5 testing coordinator positions at the high school level at 187 days for the 2006-2007 school year.
Okay, any further?
Yeah, before I vote on this, I'd like to know how many tests are given at the high school and how many tests are given at the middle school.
Well, we're only using high school, but we
I know,
might.
but I'd just like to.
Dr. Nannis?
We have a exact number? Can I
No,
give
just
you a
more or
really
less.
good
I know-
guesstimate? Okay, it looks like if, on the testing calendar, that there's 37 that are high school, that are tax-related, TOS-related, retest, exit level. That doesn't include the AP tests, the credit by exam tests, which we're very successful at, and we're moving towards more of those, SAT, ACT, PSAT, benchmarks, and the bilingual assessments such as the RPTE. Now, as a district, K-12, there's well over 50 just in tax alone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Additional comments? Okay, there was a motion to recommend approval of 5 testing coordinator positions at 187 days for the 2006-2007 school year. There was a motion
We need a second.
by Mr. Powers. Do I have a second on that motion? I'll second. There's a motion and a second to recommend item, lost it, 15. All those in favor signify by saying yes. Raising your hand. Okay, motion carries. Item 16, recommend approval of human resources investigator position at pay grade 5 and 226 days for the 2006-2007 school year. Is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
There's a motion to approve and a second. Discussion, Mr. Munoz.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. We discussed this to some extent, or to a greater extent, in the conference presentation. I was sort of the opinion that we might combine items 16 and 17, but then I believe attorney said it may be a conflict. Also, my other observation, item 16, it sounds like we might be able to utilize someone in the securities department. It specifies that they should have sound knowledge of law enforcement and Texas statutes and so forth. It does sound like an investigator, and I believe we have some. Something to think of.
Dr. Stokowski?
We're comfortable with our recommendation. Mr. Pineda, you want to add anything to that?
Mr. Lehman, Dr. Z, members of the board, the only clarification I would make, if any, would be that throughout the year, again, just to reiterate, we've conducted 46 investigative cases. Bear in mind that there's only 36 weeks in the school year, and if each case takes a week to 2 weeks to compile, that is quite cumbersome in and of itself. And so we were of the opinion that the additional position would really help us and speed up the process so that we can get through the investigation a lot sooner.
Yes, sir, Mr. Aguilar.
Well, if you really look at Mr. Munoz and the prerequisite, all it says is a master's degree and investigative and supervisory experience, that not necessarily says an educator. So it really opens up to anyone that has that kind of degree and experiences. And also prefer someone that's knowledgeable of state, federal, and all those. So definitely, if somebody's going to look into it, they're going to have to look to someone that really meets these criteria, and not necessarily a classroom teacher by itself, or an administrator for that matter.
They'd have to have different techniques.
See, that's the way I see it, and that's why I read it. It's wide open. I mean,
It is.
Mr. Lehman?
Yes, sir, Counselor.
Just to address one of Mr. Munoz's points,
Excuse me. Yeah. Go ahead. Counselor?
Yeah. To address one of the points that was raised by Mr. Munoz regarding security services conducting investigations. My understanding of this position is that it will be for administrative purposes. That means for disciplinary purposes to be taken through administrative action. Oftentimes, security services investigations are strictly criminal, involving penal code violations. When there is no penal code violations, there is no investigation by security. But the real issue is that oftentimes there is concurrent investigations that have to take place separately because of certain issues such as garrity warnings that are issued to employees in order to prevent situations where an employee could sit behind Fifth Amendment protection and not be subject to disciplinary or administrative proceedings. And sometimes that's why we have to separate those investigations. And to have one conducting both, oftentimes we run to that point where you can't do both.
I appreciate that information. And, you know, reading the criteria, it calls for knowledge of federal, state, and local laws, ordinances, and policies, Texas Criminal Code procedures, and blah, blah, blah. Really nothing to do with an educator here other than that this individual should have a master's degree and investigative and supervisory experience. So if I didn't know any better, I'd say this was written for someone special, but I have no doubt that we'll find someone very well qualified to do this.
I'll let the church lady know.
Taking applications.
Mr. Aguilar, do you have a comment? Additional comments? Okay, there's a motion and a second to recommend item 16. All those in favor signify by raising your hand, saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Unanimous. Item 17, recommend approval of hearing officer position pay grade 5, 226 days for the 2006-2007 school year. Motion to approve.
Move. I second.
There's a motion, a second to approve item 17. Discussion, Munoz. Mr. Munoz.
That again, I think we already covered it. Thanks, sir.
Additional comments? Okay, I have one. I am concerned with the amount of I guess, disbursement on a pay grade 5 as opposed to what we were paying for level 2 grievance officers through attorneys, and I don't think we ever budgeted over $40,000. So I'm going to have a hard time swallowing that, Dr. Solkowski.
Well, Mr. Lehman, I mean, I could have Mr. Sanchez check, but we've been using all of our AAs. We've been using a lot of people's time. We haven't added up all of those people that we pulled for investigation, writing those letters. Mr. Saldana and I have talked several times about having a person that he could train as being one hearing officer rather than having multitude of all kinds of hearing officers. And we do handle a number. I think Mr. Pineda shared that with you.
Well, I think by policy, you are given that luxury of assigning. You are the hearing officer by policy.
I understand that, sir.
And so we gave you that luxury, and I think we even offered you more luxury by going out and soliciting professional help, if that's what it is, by soliciting legal qualified individuals. Whether you chose not to use them, choose to use in-house, that is your decision. But to double the salary and burden the district, I don't see that yet. Not necessarily that maybe it's not right or wrong. I just don't see the expense justifying the cause when what we had was working. It's just, unless we didn't have the preference of individual doing it. We need objective, not subjective decisions, and I think that was the norm what was happening. There again, I just cannot justify the expense at this time.
Mr. Pineda, you want to add something to that?
Mr. Lehman, Dr. Z, members of the board, and it is possible. We used to have the hearing officers, and that is correct. One thing that I bear in mind and I bring to light is the fact that throughout the course of the year, one thing that the individuals amongst my colleagues in administration, as they've heard level 2 hearings, you will reflect that there haven't been that many level 3 hearings that have come before the board. So administration has been taking their time, and it does require a lot of time and a lot of effort. Preparing for the hearing, listening to the hearing, which takes anywhere about an hour to an hour and a half, and then the response thereafter, which does take its time. But if we can just reflect throughout the course of the year, and I believe that the item on the agenda today was 004, which indicates the number of hearings that we've had to date. So I would just ask that everyone take that into consideration as well, and the due diligence that all administration has taken in adhering to the hearings and taking their time with the hearings.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
What, could we get an idea of what the midpoint on a pay grade 5 at 226 days will net an individual?
Mr. Pineda, you have that information, sir?
We can get it for you momentarily.
64 we'll start with. 276.
Pat. You know that.
As we wait for a firm number, I can pretty much tell you that it'd probably be in the vicinity, midpoint would probably be about 72 to 74.
So both 16 and 17 are in that range. The only other suggestion that I might have is we have a we have need for in my opinion, we have need for a district attorney, a lawyer working directly for the district, and we have a position that's open at this point in time.
Staff attorney, yes.
A staff attorney, and I don't know if this would if we could combine these two positions and do well that way.
Dr. Zolkowski?
I don't know at this point. What I do know is that when I first came, I've cut 100 and some odd positions. I think 150. I can't remember. We saved about $2 million. We've been running thin in this district, as Mr. Sanchez has reported. Our administrative costs per state requirement is below. We feel like we need to add this stability, and this is a lot cheaper than an attorney. An attorney probably in-house will run you, I'm going to guess, $125 to get anybody that BISD would need to use that would have the knowledge. I mean, and that would be a beginning person, probably a hearing officer out of Austin. But we feel that this is a better route to go at this time.
Well, you know, the district attorney hires attorneys for probably under $50,000 a year.
I understand it, but they're not education attorneys.
No, they're not education attorneys, but certainly we could keep the hearing officers that we employed over the years are generally not education attorneys, and they did a fine job. So I'm thinking that probably we could find some, I wouldn't say an attorney with 30 years experience, obviously not, but we could find someone in the $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 range to do perhaps 2 or 3 different things and keep them busy. We might want to look at combining these responsibilities.
Well, I mean, you make sense. And I'll take any other comments. Yes, Mr. Power.
Thank you, Pat. Dr. Z, on the hearing officer, now, the responsible person going to be the area superintendent for human resources, correct? And he's got that adhered to him. Now, on an independent hearing officer, he can be fair and impartial and not have to worry about repercussions. On a hearing officer that is hired by us, that reports under an area superintendent, if he starts ruling in favor of a lot of grievance, where do we draw the line? That's what I'm afraid of. You know what I mean? So that's what we're seeing from independent versus
the objective,
employee.
not subjective.
Yeah.
Mr. Lehman, Dr. Z, members of the board, in response to Mr. Powers' concern, throughout the course of the year, one of the things that we've taken a lot of pride in is being impartial in the responses that we've given to the employee and worked with employee. And that's one thing we have done administratively. What I would venture to say, should this become a reality, I'd work very closely to make sure that person remains impartial as best possible, because that's the integrity of the system that we have, is to be the hearing officer, and it rests on its sheer integrity.
So we're not going to worry about, whoever takes this position, whoever we put in this position, they don't need to worry about repercussions because they're going with the grievance.
I believe for the last 2 years, or less than last 2, we've been using IAAs, and they've been very fair and impartial, and to the point that the grievances that most of the board have listened to have been pretty accurate and to the point. I mean, there hasn't been any sway, so I would hope that wouldn't occur, but it hasn't occurred.
Okay, I just want to make sure of that.
Additional comments? Okay, motion and a second to recommend item 17. All those in favor signify by saying aye, raising your hand. All those against? Aye. Same sign. Motion passes 5-2. Move on to item 18, discussion, consideration, and possible action on supporting and endorsing an individual from a board within the TASB Region 1, Position A, to serve on the TASB Board of Trustees. I'll open it up for discussion. Dr. Solkowski, you want to open up?
Let me open up. If we have, I would recommend if one of our board members is interested, we should pick somebody that's maybe has at least 2 more years on their term so that that person could have the power versus getting on and getting off. If we want to consider it. If not, then I think we probably need to support Gloria Casas, who is currently,
No, I recommend Susan Galvan, so you got 2 years left.
Well, let's say, does anybody here is interested and want to dive on the sword? And
Susan, we heard you to
Hands
do
aren't
it.
going up.
So Mr. Powers is already alluding to one of us. Mr. Aguilar, you want to?
No, I just wonder, who is this Gloria Casas, Dr. Z?
I'm not familiar with the lady. She's a board member.
Otis endorsed her last time, so you should know
Otis,
who
you
she
know where
is.
she's
No, but we want our own person there from this board here. We do want our own individual.
You don't know who Ms. Casas
Yeah, I
is?
do know who she is, but I don't recommend her. I recommend Susan Galvan.
I agree with you. I concur. Susan, do it for us.
You got to do it. I've been it twice.
That'll work there, Susan. Third paragraph. You better read it.
Wait, let me read the
No
paragraph.
pay.
No pay is
There's
what
no
he's
pay.
alluding to. It's not.
But there is lodging and transportation expenses incurred by board members to attend regular spring. Ooh, that's
To Vegas.
There's
only
not a
other-
lot of per diem. Not
Myrtle
like
Beach, Myrtle Beach.
President Lehman, the only,
Sorry, hold on, she's reading.
I know,
Not a
President
key
Lehman, but
official.
the only other
Evelyn
one would
Woods,
be
right?
On key
Kalunga.
official.
What else? That's it. A lot of responsibility. It's up to you. Go for it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Powers, but I'm going to decline this time.
Read a paragraph.
Who wants that?
Mr.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Dr. Solkowski.
If there's no one else, then I would recommend that we have Mr. Lehman write a letter supporting this.
No,
Mr.
we'll get
Lehman?
somebody.
Yes, sir, Mr. Aguilar.
Mr. Colunga also has more than
No,
two,
that's true.
2 years. If you
Yeah.
want to consider
Look
him,
at
Mr.
paragraph
Otis.
3, read it.
Thank you very much, but I decline.
There we go. Nobody wants to.
Okay. Mr. Powers, would you take it?
I'll take it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, then we have
You have
exhibit
2
on
years, sir?
page 86 will have to be filled out, correct?
You got 9 years.
No, you have 2 years left in your term. And then how is it you want to accept? And your recommendation was that we have at least 2 years left in the term.
But if they say
Ah.
no, if they say no, you put somebody up there.
Okay.
I second that motion too.
But
Mr.
wait a minute, I don't think he can, I'm not making a motion. Somebody want to make a
I
motion?
move that Mr. Powers.
Nominate Mr. Powers?
Yes,
Okay, there's a
I
motion to
second it.
nominate Mr. Powers as our TASB Region 1 representative. Is there a second?
Mr. Aguilar, second.
Mr. Aguilar, you have second that motion. Item 18, all those in favor in appointing Herman Otis Powers to the TASB Region 1 Position 8 to serve on that Board of Trustees? All signify by raising your hand saying aye. Unanimous, Mr. Powers.
Touche.
Thank you. I
paragraph
humbly
3.
accept it.
Move on to 19, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding the selection of flooring materials to be installed at Ben Bright Elementary School. Open for discussion, Dr. Solkowski.
I didn't put this.
I put it on there, Doc, and so, you want me to take over?
Take over?
Okay. I just need to make sure that my conscience is clear. I don't personally feel that carpeting of any kind should be in the classroom. It was brought to my attention that apparently we endeavored in putting carpet at Lucio Middle School, and 5 years later we ended up ripping it. And I believe that Dr. Julia Garcia was a prototype, a resite of Lucio, and it was designed without carpet. So we don't have carpet presently in our district, and I think this is a wrong turn to take as far as for the maintenance, whatever other allergies or headaches that we might have. In talking to some of our employees, they, especially in the maintenance sector, they feel that through past experience that this would not be a logical thing to do. I'll leave it at that. I just needed to vote my conscience on it.
I appreciate that, Mr. Lehman. I went ahead and got a report so we'd have some research-based material. And this was an independent person. and I'll just read a couple of sentences and then I'll conclude. It's noted there's a cost that with VCT, which is your vinyl, with VCT and other hard surface flooring, allergens are continually kicked up throughout traffic into the breathing zone. Also, they say the consortium received comparative flooring maintenance costs with published maintenance costs for VCT, cost for maintenance of 90,000 square foot school over a 20-year were calculated. VCT assumes normal maintenance conditions cost about $94,500 per year to maintain. The other, again, normally maintenance conditions are less than $35,000. Therefore, there's a potential savings of $60,000 with carpet over VCT. But to go further, and I won't bore you, the maintenance cost on Collins and Aikman is 46 cents a square versus $1.10 for VCT. Maintenance cost each year, stripping, waxing, and I also put the 25-year warranty. The carpet you used in Lucia was not I guess it was a carpet, but it had warranty. It did not have the anti-allergens in it. We have taken all the carpet out of the main corridor. In fact, this board, and it cost some to do it, but the board actually put terrazzo. We agreed on the specs. We put terrazzo in the main flooring, which is a 150-year floor. We had some secondary hallways that were carpeted. We have some carpet in some classrooms, but not in every classroom. Those were the schools that we looked at, that we actually took the teacher group that designed it, and most of them felt very comfortable with it. The only reason why we put it in there, we can review that, but I put both VCT and carpet, and I will tell you that carpet will last longer than VCT.
Okay, I'll open up the discussion. Mr. Munoz, first.
Yes. Let's understand, see if we understand what we're talking. We're talking about the entire school other than the terrazzo portion being carpeted, is that correct?
No.
What will have carpet?
Mr. Bailey, could you help us with this, please? I can't fully remember each room.
Approximately 51,000 square feet, Mr. Munoz, which includes the admin area, the library, the secondary quarters, and all of the classrooms, with the exception of pre-K and K. Okay. Those areas I just mentioned are scheduled right now to have carpet.
So and what I prefaced my statement with was correct when I said all the areas other than the terrazzo. This means all of the, we'll call them secondary, if you will, all of the hallways that don't have terrazzo around them, which is around the administration area, and the majority of the classrooms. Of course, the gymnasium will not have. We've got 89,000 square feet.
Right.
So,
yeah, 51.
Virtually the entire instructive area will have carpet. I too looked at some of the studies, and I didn't print them out. They were voluminous. It just depends on whose study you want, whether you're looking at the vinyl composite tile salespeople or the people from South Carolina, the industry, the mills are in South Carolina generally.
They're in
country.
Dalton, Georgia.
Georgia, whatever.
Thank you.
They're in the South, the deep South.
Deep South, yes, sir.
But depends on whose information you're looking at, and you're right. Carpet does capture the antigens or captures the mold and so forth, versus a hard surface, which they say get kicked up. But the proviso on the difference is that the carpet be maintained properly, and we all know that a chemical mop can cover hundreds of square feet in a few minutes, versus having to very, very periodically, I don't even think they use the word vacuum, evacuate or something, the carpets. We'll have to spend a lot of money, and it'll take a lot more maintenance time. I disagree with the numbers you're talking about are shampooing or cleaning the carpets once or twice a year. Of course, that will have to be done. But you still have to remove what's deposited in the carpets quite frequently to keep the woolly buggers down, or whatever you might want to call them. But I really think that it's not a good idea to put carpet, especially in the hallways. I haven't seen a whole lot of carpet in hospitals lately. So I just think it's a bad idea. I don't mind. I think it's a good idea to have carpet in the administrative area. I don't have any problem with that. I like the tile around the administrative area. I think that's a very good idea. It's going to be beautiful. But certainly carpet in the hallways, that's not a good idea. I know how much maintenance we do at some of the high schools with our hard floors on the hallways, and then in the classrooms. I don't know very many teachers that would say they wanted carpet in the classrooms. Of course, you know, our committees are a little bit different. But I'm going to vote no. If it comes to a vote, if that's it. I don't know how this is going to be handled.
Mr. Aguilar, comments?
Well, I thought we had agreed what material we were going to use at Ben Bright Elementary School. I think the question here is, where are we going to limit the carpet? Because we already approved all this, what material, which is a carpet. Now, what some of our college is talking about, that there are some areas that perhaps is not suitable for carpeting. I can understand that, but the way it's written here to consider the selection of floor materials, that has already been approved by the board. And I sure hate to go back and go, you know, like, well, we made a mistake again, whatnot, just because we find areas that it's not suitable to us, and perhaps you have a good point about some of the materials. And like Mr. Munoz said, you can get your information where you want to. His material was researched. It's valid to him. Dr. Z, research is valid to him. So who are we going to listen to? I can come out with my own research and say, well, you guys, you know, I read this research. So we need to go with the administration and say, you feel comfortable with this. Yes, we need to trust our committees. Yes, they met. And this is what we need to do. It's what administration do you feel comfortable with this? If they say, well, maybe the halls that Mr. Munoz is talking about is not suitable, well, let's look at it. I mean, it's perhaps we need to look at it, but not necessarily say that we're going to approve material when we already approved the material, which is the carpeting. And I'm saying is, well, if you want to look at it, let's look at it. But the fact is, to choose materials is like saying we're not going to have carpets anymore because now we're going to come out with another type of material next board meeting. You know, and I don't think that's appropriate, really. It's my personal opinion. But I do agree with Mr. Munoz. If there's some areas that's not suitable for carpeting, let's look at it. You know, because the administration did research, the architect did the research, the committee made some suggestions. Let's listen to them. I mean, like I said, research is based on whoever you want to listen to.
Mr. Columna.
Thank you, Mr. Lehman. I would agree with what Mr. Aguilar has mentioned on having to redo a board decision on selection of materials. And the fact that it would be in selecting flooring materials would get into an area of rescinding a board action, previous action, and would be questionable as to the actual role of what we're supposed to do, approve or reject the superintendent's recommendation on action in facilities. So I mainly had a question about the language of the agenda item, whether it's something that should be referring to action on selection or not. So that's mainly the objection I had to the language and having to redo the selection of materials.
Okay, I put this agenda item, and I referred to legal counsel, I guess, help draft. And let me just specify so my colleagues understand what I personally would like to put on the table. I am not instructing administration other than that this board member, for the safety and consideration of the children, and that's my opinion, you will live with your decision, because we've already had case study. We've had experiences already that it is not conducive for this district at this time to put carpeting in the classroom. Now, I don't have a problem with the district's policy and practice of putting carpet in the library and the administration portion of the complexes. Now, that's basically my position, and that's basically the wording of the agenda or the motion that will be put forth, not to simply change selection of flooring other than making sure that carpet, in my opinion, is looked at, whether this board agrees, and in principle has agreed. This is the first time I hear now that we're going to put it in the hallways when we agreed not to put it in the hallways. So now what do we agree on? I think Mr. Bailey was very specific in telling us that the corridors were not going to have carpeting. Now we hear that some of the corridors might have carpeting. My position is simple. I will put a motion on the table to specifically state that Ben Bright should have carpeting in the library and the administration area only. Now, it's not rocket science to know what can go in the classroom as far as tile, whatever the customary product is. So I'll leave it at that, Mr. Colunga. That's specifically what I would put on the table. But I'll open it up. I'll continue if anyone else. Dr. Escobedo.
Yes, thank you. This is a classic example of pretty much where everything that's been said is correct. You know, I'm not much of a speed reader, but in looking through this that I just received a few seconds ago, there's really nothing in here about VOCs, volatile organic compounds, accumulation of dust mites, and pretty much what I see is good, but it's not necessarily impressive. If nothing else, and you're right, we already approved this in the past. If nothing else, this is going to serve as a pilot school. I believe it's a different carpet than what was used in the past in Garcia. You know, I don't feel comfortable with it, but we've already approved it. I will be very reluctant to approve something like this in the future unless this proves itself to function and to work appropriately. You know, this is an area in which I have a little bit of knowledge in. I work with this on a daily basis. We'll just have to wait and see how it works. But again, I feel very uncomfortable with it, and I probably won't approve it in the future, but this has already been approved.
Additional comments? Yes, sir, Mr. Munoz.
Well, we discussed this in open session before, and I believe we architect indicated that we could save about $2 a square foot by going to vinyl composite tile versus the glue down carpet. But that's not the main thing that we're looking at here. I also agree that it is, I don't believe it's appropriate. I know how much maintenance is involved in a couple of our high schools with the corridors. Every summer we spend thousands of dollars cleaning the corridors with the gum and so forth, and these are hard floors. I do not doubt that the carpet will last 20 or 25 years. It's indestructible, but it's going to be ugly, very quickly. So I don't have any problem with the longevity of the product. It's just going to be unsightly. It's going to be expensive to maintain, and I believe it's inappropriate. When we first looked at a school with carpet and the superintendent indicated that he wanted carpet, I think most of us were shocked and communicated to him that we did not want carpet. I recall very clearly telling him that I was very much against putting carpet wholesale in the school. So it was a surprise to me when I found out that carpet was specified for the hallways especially. I could consider it in some of the classrooms, and then that's a concession on my part. I was doing that concessionary in my heart. But I really don't think that carpet in an elementary school is a good idea. I don't think that it's something that we voted on specifically. I don't think this board ever did vote specifically on finishes for the school. We want teal green walls in the hallway, or we want this sort of VCT here, or we want terrazzo there. We never address those issues. So I don't think that it's ingenuous of us to say that we already voted on carpet being in the school, because I don't recall doing so. But certainly some of us were very apprehensive about putting carpet in the school in this manner. Thank you.
Additional comments, Mr. Aguilar?
Oh, I appreciate Mr. Munoz's comments. However, when somebody brings to us a contract and says we're going to have this and that, this kind of materials, evidently is included in that presentation, that we later on come out and say, hey, what happened here? And there's automotives, why we shouldn't have carpet, then becomes an issue of government. I think the administration has the leadway as to what to do with our schools. And yes, Mr. Munoz, I agree with you. There's certain areas that should not have carpet. And that's what I'm saying, that perhaps the administration needs to look at this and say, let's look at some areas in the elementary school that perhaps does not need a carpet. But does not mean that we're going to exclude everything, the carpet, and just say the administration and the library, because now we excluded everything. That a committee and all those people have really looked into it and made some recommendations to us and to the board. That's basically what it is. And so when one makes a recommendation, then I think it's our fault that we didn't look specifically what they were recommending to us. That's basically what it is. And so now later on we say, hey, you know what? That doesn't look well. And we have the right to question that. By all means, we have the right to question that, Mr. Munoz and Mr. Lehman. But let's say, not just be very specific, only the main office and the library. I mean, what about the counselor's office? What about a conference room that's there is available? What some of the areas in the school that perhaps the carpet is essential, or they voted and the teachers would like to have a carpet. I think that every educator wants to have a beautiful school. And there's no one in a campus out there that says, I don't want this. Every educator wants the best for a campus.
I just want to also mention that 141, elementary 141 is going to be a recite of this particular model. So we're incorporating, I guess, to put carpet into 141.
Well, may I, sir? Then here's an opportunity, like Dr. Escobedo was saying. We learn from this. The next education, the next building, we're going to say, you know what? We're not pleased with this, and we need some changes. And if it also means to change the whole layout of the campus, we're going to be in that position to do so. If we're not satisfied, one will see the complete item there, school. Yes, we're definitely going to have a say-so. That I hope so. And then when the chair is the chairman of the facilities committee, they say, you know what, this didn't work at Ben Bright. Let's look at the new campus, and we don't want this. And we have the right to tell administrators to look into it.
I think that's what we're doing today. Dr. Solkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Lehman. First of all, we did get a book. I believe all the architects gave each one of the board members a book that did spell out that. I'm sure we did. It's been a while. Number two, we can bring a change order back if we decide that we want to put VCT in those secondary hallways. Mr. Bailey's done some research to see if we can and what it would cost us. We're not going to do it if it's going to cost more money, which it shouldn't cost. So we will bring that back because we're still within our contingency to bring that back to this board. As far as 141, you can change materials out on a recite. There's no problem. You can put the whole thing VCT. You can make it all terrazzo. But the board did know about terrazzo because we brought it and showed you on a board where the terrazzo was going, because we felt like the main square that we get most of the high traffic, we wanted a 150-year floor. And you could have built it a lot cheaper. You could have just put VCT, and you can replace it in 7 years. We felt like if you're going to spend taxpayers' money, I really, and I've built a lot of schools, Mr. Munoz. This isn't the first one. But I can tell you that I want something that's going to last. And you are right. They have used carpet that did not work. But this is not the same carpet, and this has a 25-year limited warranty. But I feel that we'll look at it. If this board wants us to look at it, we'll look at it.
Also, I requested some information from the last meeting. I needed to see a warranty of that carpet.
It's in the last page of your packet.
Okay. And I think I wanted a cost analysis. I think Mr.
It's in there also. Okay. It's 46 cents versus $1.10.
But I mean, the cost that it would cost us to change. But see, this is now I'm hearing that are we putting carpet in corridors? Is that what you're saying?
Mr. Bailey.
So I think we agreed last time that
we were going to look at it. Right. As it was originally designed and bid, we have, as you know, terrazzo in the main quarters and then carpet in what we're calling the minor quarters, which are those quarters that go into the pods. At our last meeting, I think it was your last meeting, last one I was attending, there was a discussion about a seeing if we can get a credit to change it from carpet at the minor corridors to VCT. And we have done that. We're not ready to bring it to you today, but it did show a savings. I mean, carpet is about $2.44 a square foot compared to VCT, which right now is running almost $1.25 a square foot. So carpet's about twice as expensive as VCT. So if we go from carpet to VCT, then there will be a credit back. In fact, here it is. In fact, this came back from the contractor, and they are offering $22 a square yard, which is about $2.45 or so a square foot, credit back to delete the carpet, so that's an excellent price. And then to go back with VCT, about $1.37, slightly higher than the number I just gave you. That could be attributed to making changes after the thing is competitively bid. So to go in the minor quarters, to take out the carpet and go to VCT, that's a savings of about $13,000. So.
And the classrooms, just out of curiosity.
I have a rough number now. We haven't asked the contractor that.
The same amount of money applied?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And there's roughly 28,000, almost 29,000 square feet that we're talking about for the classroom. And so that amount, just to compare, if we had carpet, that would cost, which is in the project, around $68,000. Compare that to $35,000. So let's see, plus 68. So if we would switch it out, then that should be, and please understand these are my numbers, but that should be a savings of around $33,000, $30,000 or so.
It wouldn't cost the district anything. My concern is not, there again, the issue, the money's been already programmed, but it wouldn't cost us anything additional. It's just that I had to vote my conscience. That I just do not feel that carpet belongs in the classroom, and for my own personal reasons, and for the fact that I don't think the children will be better served by having carpet. I don't see it. We haven't done it in this district. Mr. Aguilar, I would allude to whatever the standard practice of this district is for carpet, other than the classroom and the corridors, then I fully respect that decision of administration. But the administration could bring this back in the form of change order. Administration will, I take it, will be staunch in putting carpet in the classroom. And yes, 141 needs to be looked at a little bit more stringently. So additional comment, Mr. Colunga, you had?
I would agree that the appropriate action would be to refer to the superintendent for review and possible change order.
Well, I'll put my motion. I can die or I can be defeated, but I would make a motion to not to have carpet in the classroom at Ben Bright. That would be my motion. If anybody wants to second, or the hallways, yes, or the bathrooms. But I mean, I just I'm just going to say, and this is just basically, I'm just going to make my motion to read that carpet at Ben Bright should be pertain to the standard practice of our district to mean the library and the administration building. Administration building is very broad, Mr. Aguilar. It can be the counselor's office, wherever it's generated, or the any other office building that might need be. And that's the way the motion I'm going to put, Counselor. Is that
any way you want it, Mr. Lehman? We're trying to figure it out, trying to follow you here.
Mr. Lehman, I had a question.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Question on the motion.
Go ahead.
So let's say we voted down, then it can't be brought back, or I have a question.
Go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. If it was voted down, let's just say, can it be brought back?
Sure. I mean, if the right procedure is followed in terms of Robert's rules, in other words, the prevailing party, whoever's in the prevailing party wishes to bring it back, in the prevailing side, rather. I'm sorry.
The nays or the ayes?
Yeah. If the prevailing side wishes to bring it back and look at it, but of course this is a general agenda item, so basically, it's drawn up to comply with the Open Meetings Act, give proper notice to the public that we're going to discuss a specific subject, and we certainly have been very specific in our discussions about the subject, so that's been complied with. Now, any motion that you all want to make in terms of this agenda item is acceptable, under the Texas Open Meetings Act, so there's no restriction. This is a very generic, broad agenda item, simply and solely to comply with the Texas Open Meetings Act, that there is proper notice. So whatever motion you all want to make here is fine. And then, of course, Robert's rules kick in to decide whether it can be brought back by a member of the prevailing side.
Okay, so motion will be to, I'll make the motion to, since it's my agenda item, move to consider that Ben Bright Elementary's flooring materials be on the carpet end to be limited to the library and the administration area.
I'll second that motion.
Ms. Lehman? President Lehman, I think, I'll have to give my 2 cents now. I think for the safety and the role of the board, I feel we have discussed it pretty thoroughly. It's been better on a conference presentation or a facility meeting. I think they're working on it already, as far as you can see, Mr. Bailey, with his change orders. But for safety purposes, I still feel this agenda item has got to be approved by administration before we can do anything. And I don't want us to step on any minefields that allows administration to come after the board. So I'm looking at the safety thing. I know Mr. Sedania said we could do it, but it's a gray area. It's a real gray area that we're approaching. And I love to support it, but in a way, I just don't want to have that over our head that we might be stepping on a minefield. And I think Dr. Z got the message. Mr. Bailey is ready to work on a change order, and I think we need to. It'd be better to let this thing die, and I know you got a motion and a second, than go forward.
Let me just interrupt. I think we had conference presentations, we had workshops, and I think we were very specific as not to put it in the hallways, and yet now it's being put in hallways. My conscience is simply has to be clear, Mr. Powers, that the safety of the children of this district and our employees.
Well, we all believe
paramount.
that, Mr. Lehman, but I'm talking about the safety of the board of responsibilities too. I mean, we're fine. This is a fine gray area.
It is within our responsibility to make sure that we ensure the safety and the fiduciary responsibility of this board to continue to make sure that the safety and welfare of this district continues. Now, I will stick to my motion. There's been a second, and let's just vote it up or down.
Well, I want to hear an opinion from Mr. Sedania. Can we do something in this nature? I see a gray area. I really do.
Well, you're right, Mr. Powers, in that it's not absolutely clear, but ultimately, in the context that Mr. Lehman is bringing it, regarding a safety issue, a health issue, ultimately that's an issue that could be squarely brought by the board or before the board. Certainly, we wouldn't want to make a habit out of questioning what brick and what after the contract's been approved, but in the context that Mr. Lehman is bringing it, I don't think that there would be a substantial issue of governance. It could be questioned, but like you say, it is a gray area.
It is a gray area, because where do we draw the line? I can expect any property one, then I say, you know what, I see a safety issue. I just feel it should be addressed in a different manner, and I think they're addressing it.
Well, I'm not going to get off tangent, but I think we had the same issue with Aiken and Bastedo, Mr. Powers, and I think we acted very appropriately. But, Mr. Aguilar, and I'm going to call the question, but go ahead.
No, it's just an observation, a question now. We all are concerned about the safety of the children. I hope the architect, when he designed the building and the construction people are doing the best they can do to be a safe environment for our children. And this great area that our legal attorney is saying, when is it we're going to have a direct ruling on what needs to be done? Always, it's a great area. I wish someday a legal attorney would say, you know what, it's this way or it's the other way.
You can do it, Mr. Aguilar.
Yeah, because
the agenda item
we're asking you, because we say we can do it because we're going to vote on it, you see. But when we ask for opinions, it's always a gray area, you know.
It's CYA. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Will
Okay.
it still be brought
That's
back
it, and
as
I'm going to
a-
call the questions.
will it-
You're on.
Will
You're
it
on.
still be brought back as a change order?
Yes, it would have to.
Could be, I mean.
They're gonna, anyway, but like I said, I got to sleep tonight, and I've slept very well throughout the years. My conscience will be clear. Anyway, there's a motion, a second, on item 19 as read. All those in favor in considering Ben Bright's flooring material to be the carpet to only apply to the library and the administration portion of that building. All those in favor signify by saying aye, raising your hand. Aye. All those against, same sign.
I'm abstaining.
And one abstention. Motion fails. Okay, move on to item 20, discussion, consideration, possible action regarding request for qualifications, RFQ, for consultant for insurance regarding general consultation on all areas of insurance, including employee health benefits, workers' compensation, general liability, errors and omissions, etc. Discussion. I also put this agenda item. I'll open it up for discussion. We have Mr. Munoz. Item 20.
Item 20. This is, this item is possible action, request for consult. I believe that, that we need this before we look at some of our insurance issues. Certainly we don't have a consultant at this point in time. The consultant that we had, his contract was not renewed. I think we all know the reasons why. Some of us agree, some of us don't agree, but that's water under the bridge. We need a new consultant, and we have a lot of insurance issues to look at, and certainly there are lots of ways to look at it. No one is saying that we aren't going to continue with Mutual of Omaha. We just we need to look at some of the aspects of our insurance methodologies, and we need an expert in the field to help us, to advise us. So I think that that this is June, if I'm not mistaken. I think some of our insurance policies, their term runs into October, if I'm not mistaken, and then they have periods of time to exceed that. So we're not going to be without coverage if we don't approve some of these things. I think we have time to find a new consultant to assist us and then address the insurance issues that we have coming. That's my opinion.
Mr. Aguilar.
Yes, Mr. Lehman, I know that you submitted this. It's an agenda. If I may, I'd like to ask Dr. Z, what do you think about this? I mean, since it's the administration, we also need to look at.
In most situations, administration recommends a consultant. Board can vote that consultant up or down. In this case, our consultant was voted down, and I think his contract runs through June 15th. So he is actually, we also have Mr. Sanchez, who's a very capable person in insurance, as Dr. Escobedo has mentioned several times, that knows quite a bit about insurance. So we feel comfortable, in this intermediate period, and my staff is looking at what we plan on doing, and possibly bringing another recommendation down the road for maybe a different direction on this.
Well, thank you, sir. I know that we turned down, we as a board, we're not going to tell you how you went, but we as a board turned it down. And I can live with it. The thing is, it seems to me, again, that some of these items, especially this insurance, should be left up to the administration to come out with some recommendations, some requirements, or whatever needs to be done. If we do need a consultant, why can't they give us different perspective as what qualifications they are? After all, they're the ones that have been with it for years, all this time working with our consultants. And that's the only thing I'm very concerned about is what is the role of administration in here? Is it just left out that we are now dictating to the administration? I would feel more comfortable with say, you know, would you, the administration look into the possibility of a consultant, that we might have some criteria that you can come forward to us, that we might put it up or down. See, that I think I would, again, perhaps if I use that Otis Power, the great area where it's governance and when it's the role of administration. That was my only concern.
This
Mr.
is a
Lehman.
discussion and consideration and possible action. So we're going to consider and discuss, or discuss and consider. And the reason I put it on there, because I did follow proper channels. I did contact the insurance chair, Mr. Powers, on this issue. He did contact the superintendent. The answer came back that he was not considering taking any action on this issue. At this time. So we need to discuss what timetables are. I don't know what the decision of, I asked Mr. Powers to put on another insurance committee meeting. And I don't know if that's, like I said, Mr. Munoz feels that this is a timely issue. I don't know what the administration's position is. I know now, and that's why this agenda was put on there, specifically.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, I can see that, and I'm really surprised that the chairman of the insurance committee would not discuss it or anything, and with the administration. It's no offense, Otis, but you know, it is an important issue.
Right. Let me address that.
It involves 7,200 employees.
Okay, let me address that.
You know, that is correct. It's an important item.
Correct.
What I'm looking at is that perhaps instead of being initiated out here, should have been initiated out here with the help of the administration. That's what I'm perhaps.
Let me address Mr. Lehman. First and foremost, his contract runs to June 15th, number one. The request for him was brought to the board. It was voted down majority. I respect the majority decision,
Yes,
okay?
yes.
Request for qualifications for a consultant got to come from administration now. If they feel they got to the end of the month to do it, that's their call. If they feel Mr. Sanchez can handle it, that's their call. I can't come in here, since we had a chance, and tell them what to do next. All I can say, I recommend you go for RFQ down the road if you can. But I'm not going to come in here on a daily basis and try to tell them what to do. I'm not going to do that. We had an opportunity. We addressed it. Now they have to address it back to the board.
Yeah.
That's
See,
all.
But again, I can see the other side of the coin, Mr. Powers.
Right.
That June 15th is just around the corner.
Correct.
You see,
In 2 days.
and his contract expires.
What do you want me to do?
No, nothing.
Nothing. I can't do
But
anything.
it's kind of late. What I was saying is,
Right.
perhaps again, we as
Right.
board should have, when we don't have no longer consultants,
Right.
then what are we going to do?
Well, that's where Dr. Z said he'll come back at a later time. And I have to respect his opinion because he is the administrator in charge. So when he tells me that, I tell Mr. Lehman that, and it's over for Otis Powers. I ain't going to handle it.
Well, I think we could have had well, I mean, I don't want to jab you, Mr. Powers, but I mean, you
Yeah,
are
I
the
know.
chair, and to come back with an answer, well, I'm not going to consider it, or I'm not,
At a later time.
well, that's, I think the issue is that there is no consultant.
Question?
And,
Yeah, a district this size does need a consultant, and it does take a while to go for RFQs, so, I think the concern is justified.
Yes, I don't recall. I was fairly certain that the contract was into September. I recall we approved it back in September to run for periods. But obviously, it was important to renew it. The administration felt like we needed to renew it. So probably the administration, I'm wondering, I'm like some of the rest of you, I'm wondering why the administration didn't put this on here or has not already gone out. Well, I guess they need our approval to go out for RFQs. So I think that that is pretty obvious that we need to get out for RFQs and look for a consultant. And then, of course, we'll look at the offerings and the prices and the qualifications and choose the individual. But I think that this is what it's doing. It's reminding us that we have a lot of work to do in the insurance arena, and we need a consultant to talk to. Mr. Sanchez apparently is qualified to do these things, but we didn't utilize him in total capacity. So I would assume that the district's not. I know the district's not getting any smaller. So we need a consultant, and that's what we're saying here. Let's get after it and bring us some names to choose from.
In the area of insurance, as you know, we have quite a bit invested in the recommendations made by consultants. who work with the individual committees that represent employees, so that in rejecting a previous consultant, I wasn't aware of a problem in the information that was being received. That if we look at the general categories of insurance, we have done well the past year, and really would be a difficult task to say that there is a problem in the information we're receiving. So I would agree with Mr. Power that it is superintendent's call to try to review the action on this item, to do a recommendation for the RFQ. So that was my main question about the item, how it has been phrased, that deals with possible action, which is not our call, but certainly the administration has received the concerns from the board, and I think that should be the next step.
Additional comments, Dr. Escobedo.
Yes, thank you. Well, I feel the need to kind of rebut a little bit to Dr. Z's comment. It's true that I've continuously mentioned that a few years ago when I voted to hire Mr. Sanchez, I voted to do so not only because of his financial capabilities, but because of his insurance expertise. And each and every time I was told that he couldn't do it. So, I mean, has that changed? Can you do it now, or what?
Mr. Leyva, so we can just relax a little bit. I also remember, Otis, when we hired Mr. Looney, he was saying the same thing what you're talking about. He said, we have Mr. Sanchez, Mr. League. This is going to be 1 year only. We're going to have it. And now we're going into the second. Hey, it's on tape.
Oh, I know that. I've always said that.
Here we are looking for another consultant here. But then I do believe that it is needed. It's just the fact that we should initiate this request.
Well,
that's
hold on, Counselor.
I just want to clarify one thing, just to make sure that everybody's on the same page and that there's nothing's misconstrued here. The board can direct the administration to go out for qualifications. Administration has the ability to bring a recommendation to the board to be voted up or down. Okay? So you all can direct them, but administration does reserve the right to go out for qualification, make their analysis at the administrative level, and bring back a recommendation for a vote up or down by the board.
We're just putting kindling in the boiler, right?
Mr. Layton? What's the time frame once you advertise for an RFQ? What is it, 30-day grace period for purchasing?
Dr. Solkowski?
Mr. Sanchez, what is it, 30 or 10?
It's going to be between, I would say by the time we get it all said and done, probably be early August.
So we also have the ability to go back at the original list that we have. Since the board did not take that one recommendation, we also have the ability to go back at that list and recommend one of the other people on that list without going out for an RFQ.
Yeah. Mr. Powers, I would suggest that you hold a insurance meeting as soon as possible, maybe to deal with this. And you were saying, Doctor, you made a comment on this agenda item?
No, I'd just say that we were looking at it. I know Mr. Sanchez has been working close with Mr. Looney since he's leaving, trying to get the additional information. We're looking at bringing another recommendation or possibly going out for an RFQ. So we'll take care of business.
Okay. The way it was posed to me through my colleague was that you were going to sit on it, and I didn't think it was appropriate. So I just need to make sure that this board is proactive, not reactive. So, if I don't know if you want to continue with the motion. I will entertain any further discussion as to what my colleagues want to proceed with this issue, or take the word of the superintendent that he'll move on as quickly as possible.
May I, Dr. Lima?
Yes,
Mr. Dip? I would rather approach it the other way around, since the board, I mean, the administration is already aware that they need to start looking at what it is the board is requesting here. To me, I feel more comfortable with that idea, that the administration gets on with it. And I agree with you that perhaps there was a miscommunication between the parties, that there was no follow-up on it. Perhaps we laid back on it. I do consider it an important item, but I would rather that the board allow the administration, now that they're aware of it, to move on it with it. I think I would like to take that approach.
Okay, so with the consideration of what Dr. Solkowski just stated, that he will move on this item, then we will take no further action on this item. Is that okay? We'll move on to,
Thank you, sir.
excuse me, B, recommend approval of the following payment. 21, recommend approval to pay Ambiotech Civil Engineering Group Incorporated $6,980, Drash Consulting Engineering $749, Gomez Mendez Science Incorporated $158,021, Professional Services Industries Incorporated $34,254, American Contracting USA $468,421.63, Central Air and Heating Services Incorporated $349,600, Circle Industries Incorporated $103,825.65, Jamel Construction $203,532.63. Looks like the other one. For a grand total of $1,325,383.91 to be paid from local maintenance funds. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
There's a motion to approve in a second. Discussion, Mr. Munoz.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I'm pleased to say that the arithmetic looks good here. What I am bringing up, and this is the opportunity to do so, on Ambiotech, we have a slight payment. No, it's not a slight payment. It's $6,800. But one of the subpayments within that $6,890 is $560 for the balance owed for the topo and the layouts for the Ituria and Stillman project. And on May 16th, we discussed this in detail, and it was my opinion that that the $35,400 fee that we passed on May 16th to do that work, when you added that up and this topo and the layouts, you end up with $54,000 roughly for a project that percentage-wise was going to be somewhere in the range of 10.4% fee. So we asked you and we asked the administration agreed to approach Ambiotech with my reasoning and give us a $5,000 credit on the $35,400 fee for the detailed design for the roundabout and the parking lot at Ituria and Stillman. Because I'll say it again, I think that probably the topographical survey and the layout for the traffic route is part of the same project. And I think that 10%, 10.5% fee for the estimated construction cost is excessive. And certainly the work done here, the $20,240 that we're paying him less $560 tonight, certainly gave them a head start on the $35,000 project. So I really think that a $5,000 credit would be reasonable. And I don't know. I'd like to know what was your success or with Ambiotech. You were supposed to do that.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Dr. Z. Layman, members of the board. Mr. Munoz, to address your issue, we did approach Ambiotech, and we tried to work it out as much as we could with them. The agenda item was approved, but we were able. I think they met us halfway. They didn't give us the whole 5, but they gave us 25. So it was a valiant effort. We did, and is that right, Mr. Tabe? 2,500 or 3,500? Anyway, they did give us not the whole 5,000, but it was either 25 or $3,500 back credit. So we're okay.
Great. So that'll be 3,500 minus the 35,400 on that other project. That's
yes, and it's under review, the contract with Mr. Saldana right now on that contract with the numbers. I would send it to you yesterday, the day before yesterday.
Well, that's very good news. I applaud you. And because item 28, we have a RFQ to select them to be our our civil engineer for a year.
Yes.
And I'll tell you right now, I was going to vote against it had they not done something.
No, they did.
So I appreciate that, and I think that was very civil of them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They did make an effort.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve item 21. All those in favor signify by raising your hand, saying aye. Aye, motion carries. 4. Move on to C, recommend approval of the following budget amendments. 23, recommend approval of budget amendment number 114 in the amount of $1,500,000 for Fund 101 Food Service Fund balance. Is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion, Mr. Munoz.
This was item 23 is $1,500,000. I didn't find any backup data in the agenda item. I'm just wondering. This is $1.5 million food service. I believe that was it included $1.2 million for utilities and $300,000 for a computer. Is that correct?
Software.
Software.
That's
That's correct.
Computer program, which is computer software.
That's correct, Mr. Munoz.
So we need $1.2 million to go from where to where?
Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Dr. Z. Mr. Lehman, members of Mr. Munoz. What we've done here, we try to give an estimate to close out the year so we can go ahead and do a budget amendment. We really don't anticipate using the 1.2. We're probably looking at, because of the fact that we moved some money, we had placed some money in utilities, and then we moved some money as we needed it to other areas because we needed it. We came back and we looked like we're going to be about $800,000 short for utilities, including garbage and the because of the price of electricity just skyrocketed. So we're probably going to use about 800 to 900. We're running an estimate, but we want to do it before the end of the year, so we'll have it in the right amount to be able to pay because we close on June 30th. And then the 300,000 is going to be for computer software. But in looking at it, if we don't order it in time, we might have to roll that money over to next year to get because of the time constraints that we have on June 30th. But we wanted to make sure we covered our bases on this. So in all probability, we should be utilizing about 1.2 total, including the software. But we wanted to make sure we had enough money in there to cover all our expenses. And we don't, no surprises, a water bill came in late or electricity bill came in late or whatever, that we wouldn't be able to cover that on food service. And food service wants to do its own way. Now, the $300,000 for computer software was approved by the state. We had to ask permission from the state to get that. Now, the Texas Department of Agriculture did approve that for us, and it's one of the expenditures that we needed to do in order to get our fund balance within the constraints that we needed, because we have a very healthy fund balance in food service.
And the utilities monies, the utilities, where is that coming from and going to? Is it going to 199? Is it a transfer?
We're taking from 101 fund balance to 199.
I see. Okay.
Yes.
So they're paying for their share of electricity.
Exactly.
Okay. We needed the backup.
Yes, that's what it is.
Thank you. Are you satisfied, Mr. President?
Sir.
So am I.
But I would like to see that, but you don't want to do it at the beginning. Excuse me, can I address? I'm sorry. I'll address you. The reason that I asked from the beginning is why doesn't the amount show up at the beginning of the budget process? That I noticed that when we get the periodic monthly financial statements, that there's a little footnote, asterisk, saying that amount is aggregated, and of course it's a future pay. But if we know that it's going to be $1.3 million, why isn't it budgeted? Why? I mean, we got $90 zillion. You know that you're going to use it.
Mr. Lehman, we don't have 90 zillion. It sounds good. I wish we did.
Well,
Mr. Munoz can go home and rest. Oh. Hector.
I just don't understand that.
What we did Dr. Z, Mr. Lehman, members of the board, what we did at the beginning of the year is like anything. We start out with a budget. We didn't anticipate a good 30% increase in utility cost. We thought we were going to try to cut it close, but we didn't. Now, one thing we are going to be doing next year, just for your information concerning utilities, we're going to try to meter each kitchen individually, so we get a real accurate account rather than trying to take it per square foot basis.
Yeah, food service is going to go broke.
So, and if that's the case, it will, that'd be it. But we tried to budget, but this was an unusual year. We won't do it again.
Well, I just noticed that that amount does not show in the actual expenditure. That's what the line item. So I don't, for accounting purposes, why do you leave it in the fund balance of food service? Just that was the question. Why would?
That would be as what type of line item? That would be a Mr. Sanchez type question more than. We know how much we put in there for utilities. Where does it show as a line item of transferring?
Well, I think I asked that question periodically, and it's just, it's a lackadaisical thing that, well, we'll move it whenever we get to that point. But if we know that we're going to spend 1.2, I think that was the number we came back 3 years ago, that's the magic number. Why don't we, for accounting purposes, budget it already, showing us that that's what's going to be expensive. If there's a surplus, well, it just goes back. I mean, and this is within the same function? 101?
101.
Why is it coming to us? If it's within the same function, is that the way?
Mr. Sanchez.
I think it's function to function, you have to bring it to us.
Anytime, board members, Mr. Lehman, anytime we move monies out of any fund balance, no matter what the fund is, we have to come to this.
Good
board.
answer. It's testing you. Okay. Good.
Back.
Yes, sir,
One
Mr.
other
Munoz.
question.
Yes, sir, Mr. Munoz.
Yes, back to the software. You said that we need 300,000 for software. Here it says for a new computer system.
It's a program. We include in there the software program that we need to update everything that we need to do. Maybe the word system is not as properly used as we should have used it, but in talking with Ms. Mendez, it's some type of software, a little bit of hardware, but mostly software to be able to update what we need for this coming year as far as food service is concerned. And we ran by that TDA, to the department, and they agreed. And it's part of a response plan that we had to give them as to how we're going to spend our excess fund balance concerning food service.
Yes, I understand. Well, it just seemed like a lot of money for software, since we're buying a whole new update on Pentimation, which is the big kahuna of softwares, I guess.
But it does not include food service.
They probably would fix it. Yeah. Anyway.
Now, this is being bought with federal funds?
It's strictly 101 funds.
No, 101.
Strictly food service.
Food service.
Government money.
Yeah, not
We get it from the feds, and then the state gives it to us. Okay, great. Okay, additional comments? Okay, there's a motion and a second to recommend the approval of item 23. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Raise your hand. Aye, motion carries. Well, that's all for better work. Item 24, recommend approval of the budget amendment number 115 in the amount of $1,500,000 for Fund 199 Local Maintenance Fund balance. Motion to approve.
Move. Second.
There's a motion to approve and a second discussion. Mr. Munoz.
Yes, Mr. President. I didn't see any backup data on this. No backup data. That's one of my observations. I'd like to know what our coverage period is for our current premiums. We're covered currently. And what period is the $1.5 million for? Those are the three items that I had. Well, two items.
Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you, Dr. Koski, board members. Basically, Mr. Munoz, this is our property and casualty insurance. The anniversary date is April 1st. Last April, before the hurricanes, we did not anticipate that the premium was going to come in as high as it did in April. So this is the way the accounting system allows districts to do this is to go ahead and make these adjustments whenever it seemed possible. And right now, our premium came in about that much higher than we would budgeted. So we have to move those monies to cover. And as you well know, you have just recently approved the property and casualty, and the windstorm thing was one of the big issues. So this is to cover the increase in that premium.
From what period to what period?
From April 1st of this year to April 1st of next year.
Next year. So we're deficient in funds to cover the period we're within right now.
I don't like to use the term deficient because we're not. We do have the resources.
We didn't budget enough.
Right.
So we're going to fix the budget.
Right. We do that. Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Further discussion? Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve item 24. All those in favor signify by raising hands, saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Move on to F. Recommend approval of the following RFQ qualifications. 28, recommend awarding RFQ number 06-066 to select Ambiotech Civil Engineering Group, Brownsville, Texas, to provide engineering services for the annual contract for surveying, topography, and civil engineering design service, and to authorize administration to negotiate a fee for said services on a project-by-project basis. Is there a motion to approve?
Move. I second.
There's a motion to approve. Is second. Discussion, Mr. Munoz.
Yes, and I applaud the administration for the $3,500 that we got, and I think the Ambiotech showed good faith in working with us. Again, thank you.
That it?
Sir.
Man, you didn't give me a chance. Okay. I have a question. Now, how much what's the physical implication? Huh?
Hector?
None at this time.
Dr. Z, and
that's going to cost us.
it's going to be on a project-by-project basis, depending on how many projects we put out. Right now, it's an RFQ for the engineer to be for us for a year, and if we ever come up with a project, we have to do a parking lot or whatever, then we approach him, we negotiate the fee, we bring the fee back to the board for approval. So this is just the person that we're going to be negotiating with on a project-by-project basis, depending on what the board approves during this budget cycle and what's going to be included on those projects.
What was the last year or this year's budget? Or what are we looking at expending?
This year, Mr. Tapia, do you recall what we
all
put
these
into
three
parking lots
topics.
this year? We have it, but we haven't put it into
What is a wild guess?
about 200,000.
200,000 to one vendor only?
No, it's not a vendor. It's the engineer is selected for the year. The vendor would be the contractor that would actually be doing the project. The fees would be depending, like if it's a project, say at Clearwater Elementary or whatever, then we'd come and tell you, this is the project, this is our estimated budget, and here's our negotiated fee with the engineer to design that parking lot.
I mean, what I'm saying is,
Yeah, is the engineer of record for the year? Yes, it is. We do it on a yearly basis.
who got it last year?
Ambitech.
Question, let's go to page 179. Not that I'm endorsing any one vendor, but I want to use criteria here on the ranking.
Mhm.
79.
Mhm.
Who is Plegar?
What's the name? PJ, right? PJ.
Garcia?
PJ Garcia.
He was an ex-city engineer.
Yes, sir.
I think he's designed more parking lots and streets than any of these guys combined. And he ranked 2 points below. Firm's ability and capability to perform, no, I'm sorry. Parking lot design. Experience. Got 3 out of 4 possible. And, I mean, I question, some of the ranking, the way it comes out. Overall educational civil engineering design experience. And he has quite a bit of experience. So that would have skewed it. He would probably have been the top guy. But my concern is, I like to split, this is a large item. Are we doing it specifically for a reason? To save money, or?
Let me just say this, Mr. Lehman. 2 years ago, we recommended a different company, and that wasn't approved by the board. So we came back with this company, and am I right on that? And we've been using this company. We have some continuity with them as far as engineering services. It's not that
that, but we feel easy. We have one person, and we've got their attention with all the business we give them.
Well, I don't like to starve anybody in town, but I like to, to give business to some of the other guys that are capable. And I think some of these firms here are capable, especially if they're local. So I'd like to see breakup of these items here unless we feel that these other individuals are not capable. So I disagree with the way this is set up. I'll open it up for any further discussion. Okay, there's a motion and a second to recommend item 28. All those in favor signify by raising your hand, saying aye. Aye. All those against? Aye, same motion. Motion passes. Item 29, recommend awarding RFQ number 06-114 to Select Control Engineering Associates, Harlingen, Texas, to provide engineering services for the Texas Department of Insurance windstorm inspection service for several district buildings, and to authorize administration to negotiate a fee for said service on a project-by-project basis. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. And second. Discussion. Mr. Munoz?
Yes, Mr. President. Again, I note there's no backup data. There's just the front page here. And two questions. What is our coverage period for the current premium that we have? And what period is this $1.5 million for?
Mr. Munoz, if you recall, we covered this in the facility meeting, because I remember Mr. Leak getting up personally and covering this, but maybe we can call on him to give us that information, or someone. Hector, why don't you do?
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Z, Mr. Lehman, members of the board. We have insurance. I talked to Mr. Leak, but after the 2003, just to refresh your memory, remember we have to have the WP8, and we have to have an engineer certify this. And they were going to bring an engineer to come do 28 buildings that were built after 2003. Talked to Mr. Leak. He says we do have insurance right now. By getting this engineer and getting this building certified, our premium will certainly drop significantly. So and it's in the States forever. Once we do the WP8 on it, and every new project we're doing the WP8 on it now, even in roofing. So that is what this person is going to come in and do. Now, we're going to negotiate a fee with him and come back to you all, hopefully as soon as possible, in the July board meeting, it looks like, or maybe the July 27th special call board meeting, if Dr. Z allows me to. If we can negotiate a fee by that time in order to go ahead and get this guy on board to inspect the buildings and get them WP8 certified. That's what it's for. We never had done it before. This is the first time.
Additional comments?
And there was no one, this was the only person?
That's the only one that came in. Wow. It's not a lot of money. That's
glad to get him.
Additional comments? Okay, there's a motion and a second to approve item 29. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Raise your hand. Aye. Motion carries unanimous. Item 30, recommend awarding RFQ number 06-116 to Select PHI Services Agency Incorporated of Dallas, Texas, to provide engineering services for air conditioning systems test and air balance services, and to authorize administration to negotiate a fee for said services on a project-by-project basis. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Motion to approve. And a second. There discussion, Mr. Munoz.
Yes, Mr. President. There was only one bid. I note that the scores appear to be very low. And do we know these people?
Gonzalez.
I guess we do.
Yes, we do. Go ahead, Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Dr. Sikorsky, Mr. members of the board. As far as familiarity with them, I'm not as familiar. Mr. Tapia, would you like to address about the familiarity you are with? I do want to say one thing. We are now having to have and I applaud the district for going this way, is to have a independent person do the test and balance rather than the contractor do his own test and balance, or the architect having to do it. This person will report directly to us. And for example, elementary number 140, Ben Bright, we do not have on the contract for the contractor to select his own test and balance. We are going to select the test and balance. We have to do the RFQs. This is the person that came in. And he will report directly to administration, which we will in turn report to the board. And this is a way of getting away from the contractor or the architect and really reporting only to the district on the test and balance reports. And I think that'd be, especially with all we had with air conditioning problems in the past few years, is an excellent way of doing it.
I think it's the only way of doing it. Not only just excellence. It's just like a concrete cylinder. It comes to us.
That's right.
It's our test to the owner. And if we haven't been doing that in the past, if the air conditioning people have been working for the contractors, then I don't know why we ever allowed that to happen. But in my experience, he's always reported to the owner.
And this is where we're going. So we had to do an RFQ for this, and this is how it came in. As far as how familiar, I'm not familiar with this firm. Mr. Tapia might be familiar with this term. If it's okay with Dr. Zito, I don't know. You want Mr. Tapia to elaborate anything on this firm or not?
We've used this firm before. We had 3 companies that we were rotating, so we all feel comfortable with this company, and they're statewide.
Additional comments? There's a motion and a second to approve item 30. All those in favor signify by raising your hand, saying aye. Aye, motion carries. On to G, recommend approval of the following renewal for insurance. Item 31, recommend to approve the Mutual of Omaha ASO renewal for the BISD self-funded medical health program for school year 2006 and 2007. Services to be provided subject to the district's needs and funding. Is there a motion to approve? There's a motion and a second. Discussion, Mr. Munoz.
Anyone else?
Mr. Colunga, go
There
ahead.
we go.
Take it away, Joe.
On reviewing the merits of this particular recommendation, you have the current TPA, Mutual of Omaha, a proven TPA. We're currently operating in the black. You have the biggest advantage in the discounts that are made possible through the agreements with providers that cannot be beat in comparison to what other possibilities would exist. You have the consumer satisfaction. The employees, the employee committee has made a recommendation on Mutual of Omaha. We have a lot invested in this particular plan to have the type of network that offers so many choices to employees. You have also the advantages that are provided to employees with the information through wellness fairs and the disease management. Overall, the program is going well. I think it's looking the best it has in years in terms of operating in the black. Administration has provided a good analysis and reviewing the facts, and I would ask anyone who is looking at other options to look at the facts and trying to make a decision for the employees on BISD. You can't go wrong in terms of the type of plan that is effective, efficient, and resulting in controlling costs. To not consider this type of advantage that we have to lose the ability to negotiate with the discounts that are possible with the providers, I think it would be a disservice to our employees not to look at a proven successful program with Mutual of Omaha.
Mr. Munoz?
Thank you, Mr. President. How much time do we have before this contract expires or reaches a renewal date? I think we're a little premature here, if I'm not mistaken.
Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you, Dr. Z. Board members. You may be right, Mr. Munoz. In the anniversary date is October 1st. budget is 2 weeks away, and I'd like to be able to set our figures as solid as possible. As you know, the state has just finished their revamping the way they're going to fund schools. Some days I have good days. Some days I have bad days. There have been more bad days than good days. And I'd like to have a figure. I'd like to be able to say, all right, tomorrow I can start working and make a definite projection as to how much I'm going to set aside for health insurance. And of course, we still have workers' comp and some others down the road. And so for me to delay it and then come and miss it by 2 or 3 million, I know you're going to be asking me a question in October. Well, Mr. Sanchez, well, why didn't you budget sufficient dollars? Well, I want to know basically right now why, give me some direction. You give us some direction and we can work the numbers. And I think for the most part, the biggest concern I have is we have one more year for renew, but part of this, part and parcel, is that stop loss. 2-year guarantee. You know what happened to us on the property and casualty insurance. And if we don't take advantage of this, I think that market's going to be disappearing very, very quickly. We did as some of you suggested, we dropped the aggregate stop loss, but this is a specific stop loss that's part and parcel of what's being presented to you tonight. So I really very strongly recommend that the administration recommends that we go with this proposal.
Comment. May I have a comment?
Sure.
And just on that, I just want to clarify, the individual stop losses with a different carrier, though.
Yes.
Doctor,
Mr. Sanchez.
clarification?
You are correct, sir.
So, go ahead. No, go ahead.
You are correct. We put it in here just so that you can see the entire picture. It is a different carrier. It's not Mutual of Omaha. Mutual of Omaha does not carry their stop loss.
So what is our contractual obligation with, I forgot the name of the company, but anyway, the
Mutual?
No, the individual stop
Oh,
loss.
the stop loss,
Gallagher. I remember the guy.
ING.
ING.
ING, not Gallagher?
No, sir.
Okay. ING. So ING is, they'll honor that for the next, if we contract with them?
That's what
separate
our
from this?
TPA has been working with. Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Mr. Munoz. I just wanted to clarify.
Well, being that we have until October, and I understand the CFO's need to focus on firm numbers, but I don't think that he'd be in much jeopardy if he used the numbers he's going to use anyway. We might surprise ourselves and end up with a positive budget amendment. Who knows? But the reason that I would like to see this not acted on tonight, tabled or postponed until after we have a new insurance advisor on board to look at our package, get a new perspective, get a different perspective, or the same perspective from someone else. I feel uncomfortable in going ahead with this, and I don't think time is of the essence for this particular contract. That's just, I'm not an insurance expert, so I don't know. Mr. Colon.
Well, I think it's always good business sense to take advantage of discounts and to renew it at a time that you have the opportunity to do so. It would show a decisiveness on the part of a group to recognize the advantages of the plan or the effectiveness of the plan. To delay it, I think, would be just not necessary to look at a decision in the future that's going to consider the same factors that are in black and white at this point. We do have that in the bullets that the administration has in the backup as far as what are the statistics, the evidence that shows the success of the TPA administration, so that I think that is the main advantage is to make decisions when you have the opportunity to take advantage of a good deal that is beneficial to employees.
Yes, thank you. I don't disagree with Mr. Kalunga that this may be a good plan and we are operating in the black. However, I do believe that there is always room for improvement, and for us to seek that improvement is not providing a disservice to our employees. We're simply looking out for their best interest. And if we are going to go out for a consultant like Dr. Z said, well, then I think it should be looked at again. And I'm glad that it's being brought to us tonight. I have always been a proponent of bringing things early. In the past, we have brought items in the very last possible meeting, and I've adamantly spoke against that. So I'm glad that this is beginning to surface now and not, September 31st or the last meeting. But I would feel better postponing this indefinitely until we have the consultant look at it, whether it be Mr. Sanchez or whoever the consultant may be, because I wouldn't feel comfortable voting against it.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Everybody has their own say-so, and it's probably correct. We all agree that it's a good program. I think the item here right now is saying, let's wait until we get another consultant. But it seems to me that this has been looked over already, not only by the administration, but also the insurance committee. And to tell me that we say, let's wait until we get somebody else, maybe get a program, it's kind of difficult, really, if we really look at it, when a lot of research, a lot of work has been done, and to come to this table with this recommendation, and again, bring another consultant, and to say, let me look at your program, it's going to take time-consuming again. I don't see any reason why we have to wait. This has been looked over by consultant. It has been looked by committee. The administration feels good about it. The program has been very successful to BISD, and I suspect that we are get better at it simply because they know what they're doing. They have already done a lot of negotiating with health providers, and eventually gets into whereas we bring another consultant, we start from level one again, start over again. And that's my only concern, that to bring another consultant, look at it, then we start all over again, you see. When we already have a good product. It doesn't make sense to me. Thank you, Mr. Lamont.
Yes, sir, Mr. Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. The last insurance meeting, the consultant did look it over. The committee looked it over. So we did have an insurance consultant look it over. Other than now I'm renewing his contract, he did look over the medical plan. So it's not like it just happened. You have a committee here unanimously voted to recommend Mutual of Omaha. And I'll be the first one, if I saw a red flag and I saw a 50-50 vote, a 60-40 vote, that we might have problems within the TPA or the stop-loss or whatnots or the discounts or whatever we have. But if we start voting against committee things, then why have committees? I mean, we're not going to respect their opinions, and then let's just abolish committees and say we're going to do it ourselves. And I respect the insurance committee on the campus level. I think those teachers put time and effort into it. I wish I had all the time to do it too, like they do, but I don't. So we did have a consultant. We just want another one. That's all. It is $4 million in the black, and I have to stand by my committee representatives versus what I think. So I stand by their recommendations to vote on it.
Mr. Powers, let me correct something you said. First of all, I don't think the recommendation was to turn it down. I think the recommendation was to table and study this. And once again, I'd like to have it not in a budget format, but in your committee, on your docket, and discuss it thoroughly.
We did that.
No, sir.
Yes, we
in a
did.
budget. We didn't have an insurance committee meeting. I don't want to stay. I want to specifically discuss the insurance.
Well, what changes are going to happen?
I'm glad you said that. First of all, I like to. How many employees, female employees, do we have right now? Could you raise your hand in the district? Now, how many of you can have babies right now? Or how many are contemplating having babies?
That should be
I hope not here.
Not that I am. Now, how would you like to go to a hospital and have zero out of pocket and zero deductible? Got your attention, see? And so we have 7,200 employees. Half of them must be female. And that's what's being offered on the table, and it doesn't come to our
That's within the, we can do that during the self-funded plan. We're talking about the TPA here and the stop loss. We're not talking about the coverages. We can
this
change
is
that
the
anytime we want
TPA
to.
controls. That's another question, Mr.
Yeah.
Powers. The PPO,
The
the one that negotiates, is controlled by the TPA. How much, doctor, do we pay for PPO services out of the administrative fees that we pay Mutual of Omaha, out of the 20-some-odd dollars?
Any of the co-pay and co-deductible, that
Not
comes
answering
within our
you.
decision.
Doctor, out of the $22.04, where is the PPO fee here?
Mr. Sanchez.
I have a representative from our TPA, maybe Mr. Atarian.
Who?
Bruce Atarian.
Who is he?
He is a
Represents
representative from
Mutual
Mutual
of
of Omaha.
What happened to Mr. Malik?
Well, he's not
No.
here, sir. He is.
And what happened to Mr. Malik? Is Mr. Malik still? Okay, go ahead. Front and center, sir. You've been called to the podium.
It's called baptism.
Thank you for this
State your
opportunity.
name. State your name, sir.
Bruce Atarian with Mutual of Omaha.
Bruce Satarian?
Atarian.
Atarian.
A-T-T-A-R-I-A-N.
Bruce Satarian. Nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you. Thank you for this
The
opportunity.
question is, how much is out of the, I guess it comes out of the administrative costs, how much is going to PPO services?
Just for the network access?
They
Is that what the
negotiate?
question is?
Yeah, who negotiates the contracts?
Mutual of Omaha negotiates the contracts with the hospitals through the network. Texas True
And
Choice.
what fee, there's got to be a fee in there, no? For negotiating? Who's a PPO?
Texas True Choice.
How much do we pay them out of that fee?
The access fee is, I have my notes here, just give me just a second.
And per individual?
Well, my
$4, $5, what?
probably two.
Operate in the black. However, I do believe that there is always room for improvement, and for us to seek that improvement is not providing a disservice to our employees. We're simply looking out for their best interest. And if we are going to go out for a consultant like Dr. Z said, well, then I think it should be looked at again. And I'm glad that it's being brought to us tonight. I have always been a proponent of bringing things early. In the past, we have brought items in the very last possible meeting, and I've adamantly spoke against that. So I'm glad that this is beginning to surface now and not, September 31st or the last meeting. But I would feel better postponing this indefinitely until we have the consultant look at it, whether it be Mr. Sanchez or whoever the consultant may be, because I wouldn't feel comfortable voting against it.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Everybody has their own say-so, and it's probably correct. We all agree that it's a good program. I think the item here right now is saying, let's wait until we get another consultant. But it seems to me that this has been looked over already, not only by the administration, but also the insurance committee. And to tell me that we say, let's wait until we get somebody else, maybe get a program, it's kind of difficult, really, if we really look at it, when a lot of research, a lot of work has been done, and to come to this table with this recommendation, and again, bring another consultant, and to say, let me look at your program, it's going to take time consuming again. I don't see any reason why we have to wait. This has been looked over by a consultant. It has been looked by committee. The administration feels good about it. The program has been very successful to BISD, and I suspect that we are get better at it simply because they know what they're doing. They have already done a lot of negotiating with health providers, and eventually gets into whereas we bring another consultant, we start from level one again, start over again. And that's my only concern, that to bring another consultant, look at it, then we start all over again, you see. When we already have a good product. It doesn't make sense to me. Thank you, Mr. Lemon.
Yes, sir, Mr. Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. The last insurance meeting, the consultant did look it over. The committee looked it over. So we did have an insurance consultant look it over. Other than now I'm renewing his contract, he did look over the medical plan. So it's not like it just happened. You have a committee here unanimously voted to recommend Mutual of Omaha. And I'll be the first one if I saw a red flag and I saw a 50-50 vote, a 60-40 vote, that we might have problems within the TPA or the stop loss or whatnots, or the discounts or whatever we have. But if we start voting against committee things, then why have committees? I mean, we're not going to respect their opinions, and then let's just abolish committees and say we're going to do it ourselves. And I respect the insurance committee on the campus level. I think those teachers put time and effort into it. I wish I had all the time to do it too, like they do, but I don't. So we did have a consultant. We just want another one. That's all. It is $4 million in the black, and I have to stand by my committee representatives versus what I think. So I stand by their recommendations to vote on it.
Mr. Powers, let me correct something you said. First of all, I don't think the recommendation was to turn it down. I think the recommendation was to table and study this. And once again, I'd like to have it not in a budget format, but in your committee, on your docket, and discuss it thoroughly.
We did that.
No, sir.
Yes, we
in a
did.
budget. We didn't have an insurance committee meeting. I want to stay. I want to specifically discuss the insurance.
Well, what changes are going to happen?
I'm glad you said that. First of all, I like to. How many employees, female employees, do we have right now? Could you raise your hand in the district? How many of you can have babies right now? Or how many are contemplating having babies?
That should be
I hope not here.
Not that I am. Now, how would you like to go to a hospital and have zero out of pocket and zero deductible? Got your attention, see? And so we have 7,200 employees. Half of them must be female. And that's what's being offered on the table, and it doesn't come to our
That's within the, we can do that during the self-funded plan. We're talking about the TPA here and the stop loss. We're not talking about the coverages. We can change that anytime we want to.
The TPA controls. That's another question, Mr.
Yeah.
Powers. The PPO,
The
the one that negotiates, is controlled by the TPA. How much, doctor, do we pay for PPO services out of the administrative fees that we pay Mutual of Omaha, out of the 20-some-odd dollars?
Any of the co-pay and co-deductible, that comes
answering
within our
you.
decision.
Doctor, out of the $22.04, where is the PPO fee here?
Mr. Sanchez.
I have a representative from our TPA, maybe Mr. Atarian.
Who?
Bruce Atarian.
Who is he?
He is a
Represents
representative from
Mutual
Mutual
of
of Omaha.
What happened to Mr. Malik?
Oh, he's not
No.
here, sir. He is.
And what happened to Mr. Malik? Is Mr. Malik still? Okay, go ahead. Front and center, sir. You've been called to the podium.
It's called baptism.
Thank you for this
State your
opportunity.
name. State your name, sir.
Bruce Atarian with Mutual of Omaha.
Bruce Satarian.
Atarian.
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 Bruce Satarian. Nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you. Thank you for this
The
opportunity.
question is, how much is out of the? I guess it comes out of the administrative costs. How much is going to PPO services?
Just for the network access?
They
Is that what the
negotiate.
question is?
Yeah. Who negotiates the contracts?
Mutual of Omaha negotiates the contracts with the hospitals through the network. Texas True
And
Choice.
what fee? There's got to be a fee in there, no? For negotiating. Who's a PPO?
Texas True Choice.
How much do we pay them out of that fee?
The access fee is, I have my notes here, just give me just a second.
And per individual.
Well, my
$4, $5, what?
probably $2, $2.50.
Okay, $3.
That's an estimate.
Okay. So, why, if and this is nothing new. I don't know if you've been privy to what has been discussed in the past, where hospitals, in particular Brownsville Surgical Hospital, has made that offering to allow our employees to walk in there and zero out of pocket, zero deductible. Now, they're limited in surgical procedures, but I'm just taking one that is very common, pregnancy. I think our female employees would love that they would enjoy having a child brought into this world, and not to say that, you know what, peace of mind, not going to cost me a dime. How come that hasn't been brought to the table? It's been 2 years in the offering.
It's a great question.
Clinic.
I can say this, as the TPA or as the administrator of the claims, we pay claims. How the program is set up to pay at what level, what benefits you choose for your employees, does come from you. We can certainly do the logic into our claim system to accommodate those kind of plans.
These are negotiated contracts with individual hospitals. That's been on the table. We haven't discussed that. The PBM side, I think we negotiated 50% of your extra findings, credits, discounts.
Discounts and rebates.
We should get 100%. There is a norm. I mean, that's on a self-insured. That money should come to us. Additionally, what about access to primary health care? 20% of our individuals or our employees use our insurance, yet are classified, don't have access to even simply primary health care. That's going to see a doctor because it's still too expensive. Why don't we offer that free of charge? We can. Edinburgh is doing it. Parson One. I think Don is going to do it. I think you're going to do it at your district. How come these things are not being brought forth to our committee? Why our employees are in the dark? That's my question. And I know that you're probably inheriting a lot, so you need to go back, and that's why we need to discuss these things. Now, we've amassed at a $6 million surplus simply because of what we're doing right now, discussing hard facts, hard-nosed facts. We've made you what you are today, very efficient. And we want you to do better because I know you can do better. For me, for this trustee, the day that my employees can go and get service free of charge, that will make me happy. And you can do it, but you don't want to do it. And Mr. Powers, that's why we need to sit down and discuss these things.
But that's within our authority. We have the ability to do that. Now, as far as the negotiation with contracts in the hospital, we can't get involved with the negotiation of contracts.
That's a misnomer. That's what they're telling you. And that is not so. That is not, and this is not the proper forum,
I know, it's not.
Mr. Powers. That's why you need to call another insurance committee meeting because I just opened a lot of eyes to our employees and a lot of ears too. And we need to discuss these services because for the amount of money we put into this system, for the amount of money we're saving, it needs to go back to them. I want them to be able to access free primary health care. Simply going to see a doctor if they feel bad and put them back. That's it.
Yes, Mr. President, I think I'd like to make it very clear to all of our employees is that we are not going to go backwards. We're not going to, whatever it takes, services. We want to increase services. And this is a unique year with the bond issue and the legislature and so forth. And there are some things that we can do, and we are trying very hard to improve the health services. We know how important they are. They're important to all of us. Everyone is in the same boat. So we feel like there are some things that need to be looked at. Obviously, what President Lehman has said tonight, he has some things he'd like to bring on the table. Time is not of the essence here on renewing this contract at this point in time. We are not unhappy with Mutual of Omaha. We just feel like there are some other things that we would like to discuss with them, and we have until October to do so, or close to October certainly. So I don't think anyone should feel threatened by the tabling of this. If the board agrees to table it and continue our investigations and discussion, and bring a new consultant on board to advise us, but I see nothing lost in this effort, and there is always room, as Dr. Escobedo says, there's always room for improvement.
Mr. Aguilar.
Oh, thank you, sir. Mr. Lehman, those statements that some of my colleagues are saying is truly they need to improve. We try to get the best service to our employees, and everybody says we're happy. My point is this, that we have an opportunity as a board member in the insurance committee to bring up all these factors that is brought up tonight. Why was he not brought up at that insurance? Last time we had an insurance committee. So now we come to approve a health provider or an insurance, and now we're bringing all these questions. Why wasn't the same question asked at that particular insurance committee? I mean, it stands to reason if we really are for improving services to our employees, why wasn't it done by these board members at that committee? That
Okay,
Mr. Chairman.
I will correct you. Let me correct you, Mr. Aguilar. We haven't had an insurance committee meeting.
Yes, we did.
There was an item, no, sir, there was an item put on a budget committee meeting to railroad this item as it appears today. I would like to have it in its proper forum, so we can have a lot of employees might not come to a budget committee meeting. but they are interested in their insurance.
What I'm saying, Mr. Lehman, we might not have had it recently, but we did have an insurance committee.
I think we did discuss many issues.
But those,
And
if I can recall, those items that you were talking about were not discussed at that. And it's been quite a while. I grant you that we haven't had one recently, but the last time committee, we had an opportunity to bring those things. I'm not saying they're not important. I'm saying is, why is it all of a sudden it comes along, you see?
So let me address this. We're not, if you're talking going exclusive with the hospital, et cetera, well, that's the negotiating power of the Mutual of Omaha coming to us. We're not, this is just renewing the TPA and the stop loss. That has nothing to do with the other stuff. Once we call an insurance meeting, then all this can be addressed. Now, if we're going to start selecting which hospital they have to go, then let's just put the ball in the court and say, you know what, we want one hospital, we go exclusive, and of course they're going to give the bigger discounts, guys.
Powers,
That's the way it
Mr.
works.
Powers, you're in the insurance business. I'm surprised you
Right.
don't understand.
I understand,
how a
Mr.
TPA
Lehman,
works.
but we're not talking deductibles right now.
We're talking negotiations. We need to negotiate better. Once we lock in, that's it. I'm getting the same garbage for 2 years, and I'm tired of it. And either these people they've gotten to the point where they've gotten because we have been tenacious. Now, I like to see the day that primary health care is available to all our employees free of charge, and that is attainable. It is being done now in other districts.
We do that, Pat. We can do that.
I recommend that you hold a full-blown insurance committee meeting so we can discuss this in a proper forum. Dr. Escobedo.
Thank you. Just to follow up on what Mr. Powers said, we're not trying to dictate to the employees which hospital to go to. We just like to tell them which one is more to their advantage. But more importantly, I think we should just some food for thought for the future. Have our own clinic, our own day and night clinic.
That's attainable. Anybody else? Doctor, you're on.
Thank you. Because I've been listening, and first of all, my job is to represent the 7,200 employees. The other thing is that this is my insurance. This may not be your insurance, but this is my insurance. Number one, we put in the wellness center. That's what saved us money. I imagine those big discounts did, but we've helped ourselves. Point number two, this was our staff and teachers' choice. This is their insurance. Number three, we're in the black. I don't recall a lot of insurances over my 20-plus years as superintendent being in the black, and especially in health insurance. And the last one is probably the most important. In 20 years, I've never been in a school district where you had no increases. You always increase insurance. I think the state average is 20+%. We have an increase. That's how good insurance we got. I'd love to hope we have no increases for the next 10 years. But I guarantee you we may not. All of our employees still have free insurance. We have the same rates. I don't know. It doesn't get any better than this. If you've been around and been in other districts, as I have, I can compare. I have a comparison. This is, and I may personally not think this is the best insurance, but for our employees, they really enjoy this insurance. That's why the committee voted unanimously. They all enjoyed this. We asked them if they wanted to change. They said no, they did not. So I represent their vote.
I'm going to kill your
Thank you.
your statement.
Okay.
Who serves on the committee right now? How many classified employees we have in that committee?
Let me ask Mr. Sanchez.
Name one. It's all certified.
Mr. Leake?
Can you go to the microphone, sir? State your name.
Name is Ken Leake, sir. Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Zolkowski. The Employee Insurance Committee is made up of employees that cover the entire district. When I sent out an email and fax, I sent it to all district locations, including campuses and departments. It is up to the individuals or the administrators at each location to select someone at their location to represent their particular departments. And there are classified individuals on the committee. I can't name them. I don't have the list right now. There's 50 or 60 employees.
But how, I mean, out of those, Dr. Salkowski says it's my insurance or whatever. Yeah, I mean, he makes a lot of money, and he can afford a deductible. He can
Well,
afford
these are issues, sir, that can be discussed at a committee meeting. You're getting into benefits and
Well, he
issues
made a
like
statement.
that, and we're all talking about a TPA.
He made a
here.
statement that the classified individuals, I'm fighting for the little guy, not the big guy, not
So
you,
are we.
not him. I'm fighting for the little guy that does not have true access to even primary health care. And we need to study that. And if I'm going to have to scream, holler, and yell, I'm going to do it. And I think this is premature right now.
Well, I respect what you're saying, sir, and again, this is something that can be reviewed at the Board Insurance Committee meetings and also be brought up to the Employee Insurance Committee. Talking about timelines. Last year, we brought this particular issue to you earlier than what it is today. Reason being this. When you're working with a medical health project, there's an enrollment period that is very critical. Anniversary date's October 1st. That's fine. But you get into an enrollment period which is 30 days prior to October 1st because of payroll. We have several payroll dates that we work with within the district. If you all were to consider to do away with this particular contract with Mutual, the timeline becomes very critical at that point, because to solicit proposals for this type of program is very detailed, very specific. We're dealing with a lot of reports that need to go out to TPAs regarding loss runs and benefit schedules and so on and so forth. And I hope that we do have a Board Insurance Committee meeting where we can sit down as an administration with the board committee and answer any questions you may have regarding any benefit structure that we presently have and any other benefit structure that you wish to bring up. But we need to include the insurance committee, the employee insurance committee, in this whole environment. Unfortunately, we can't get this committee, all of this committee in place now because they're gone. Most of these people are employed outside this office area or in schools. They're gone. So the best time to meet with an employee insurance committee is when everybody's back, and that is in August. And by that time, going out for proposals, if that is where we're leading with this whole thing, will be too late. But I agree, we should have a committee meeting with you all.
Well, I think this board makes that decision irregardless of what administration might bring, whether it's in the best interest of the employees.
That
Same
is
thing
correct. That is
and I'm
correct.
saying that what we have here can be augmented. And Dr. Salkowski, I'd like to see primary health care available to all our employees. The components of the TPA contract right now need to be reviewed. We need to talk to Mutual of Omaha about the PBM contract that exists, the PPM, whether we can indeed negotiate directly and save more money and be having better benefits for employees. That deal, gentlemen and ladies, is on the table. And for Mutual or the PPO not to bring it because we need to know why. But it's a travesty. I will not do it. My conscience, I will take myself home, and I'll take my conscience to bed clearly, knowing that I fought for you guys. And this is the second year that we allow, for whatever reason, that because we have $6 million, that's expected of them, of the TPA, whoever it may be. Mutual of Omaha hasn't done anything above and beyond what they're paid to do. And I'm telling you, they can do better. And it's been this board, with the help of you, making sure that we have probably the model and the best insurance in Texas. Everybody else's insurance is going up, whether it be self or fully funded. Don't let these guys scare you. Get the best, and you can get it. That's all I'm trying to advocate right now, Mr. Powers. I think that we should table this, not kill it. I think we should study it, bring it in full committee, and hopefully we have a consultant on board review that and maybe bring fresh thought and fresh mind into it. Mr. Munoz?
Mr. Leak alluded to where this might be going. I'd like to dispel the notion that I, for one, have any desire to get rid of, for lack of a better word, Mutual of Omaha. I think we have the time to perhaps look at some other things. We need to bring our new consultant on. We need to find a new consultant. And no one should feel threatened by this. We want to enhance our health coverage if possible. If we can't enhance it, well, we'll still renew with the terms and conditions that are on the table right now.
One last one. And I respect everybody's opinion, but you better remember, one thing you remember, you're talking benefit packages, you're talking deductibles, co-pays, et cetera. It's not going to change administrative costs, it's not going to change the annual stop-loss costs or nor the life insurance cost. We're negotiating a contract with them to do what's better for us. And once you get the committee together in August, then you bring out all the ideas in the world that you want to provide to the employees a benefit package. Those are two separate items right now, guys. Now, if you're saying, well, TPA, we can lower the TPA, then let's do an in-house TPA.
They haven't,
I mean,
yeah, Mr. Powers, they haven't done it for 2 years.
done what? Yes, sir, they have.
I haven't seen primary health care affordable to our employees through a form of a clinic. We discussed it, talked about it. They've been resilient or negative about it. We haven't, they finally gave us a bone and gave us 50% of 100% of what they were taking on the PBM. You brought it to our attention.
Are you talking in-house clinic or outside clinic?
That's something that we need to discuss. The model that exists already in 3 districts is working. But I think this is something that is beneficial. Now, why aren't we negotiating with the hospital that's offering us 0 out-of-pocket and 0 deductible? That offer was made 2 years ago. We didn't take it for the fear of whatever. Do not let these people threaten you or scare you.
Nobody's threatening and scaring me, Pat. So
Then what? Then okay. Why not? Why are you afraid to set up a committee meeting and let's discuss this?
No, I'm not saying I'm afraid to do that, Mr. Lehman. The thing is, it's not going to change
How do you? It's not about the cost. The money is about the service.
I agree
The
with
cost is theirs. It's costing them,
that.
not
But
us. I don't care.
We control the service.
If I spend $30 million, I want to give it to them, but they have to. They still have an out of pocket.
Yeah, but we control the service, Mr. Lehman.
Apparently, we're not doing a very good job.
Lehman.
I think we all agree that it needs to be tabled.
Okay.
I don't agree.
If at least 4 of us agree that.
Okay. Any additional comments?
I'd like to see, I guess in backup, and I did mention this to some board members, like in backup, you keep on saying that the committee voted unanimously. The committee voted, but I see nothing from the committee in the backup that states that they've met or that they voted for it, or I'd like to see something from the employees as backup.
Mr. Lehman. Mrs. Galvan, I don't know where you've been, but I know that when we meet with the insurance committee, those people have come and said, and have talked to us and said, this is what we want. We might not have it tonight here, but during the year they met and they talked about it. You know, so I don't know what we say that it's not here, it's not done. We've gone through this already. I mean, it's nothing new. And let me ask you if this is correct, Mr. Lehman. Do we have if we don't decide to have this insurance, do we have a leeway that we can cancel at any time, or is it just a contract? So we don't have a 30 days
On what?
to cancel any service, any insurance?
It's a 60-day clause.
Is it a 60-day? See, what I'm saying is this. Yes, we're all concerned about what you were talking about. Anybody wants additional benefits. What I'm saying is, why can't we just say, okay, we're going to accept this. However, we're going to sit down, and we are going to look at this services that we want also. Then if they don't, like you said, 2 years have not, then we have the 60 days. But to stall this after all this work that has been done, and I also am concerned what Mr. Lake was talking about, having to wait until August and then again all these proposals all over again, you know. What's the point?
We're not talking about that. That they're misleading.
No, what I'm saying is,
yes.
what I'm saying is this: why can't we just meet and say approve it? I don't have some of you going to say
because
like
we don't know that we're missing. Because I don't want them coming back and saying everything you propose is great, Mr. Lehman, but you know what? We have a contract and we got to stick with it.
Well,
and that's the part that we've been told constantly.
Well, you
because
see, then it's a
PPO contracts set in place. If you don't
That's why I'm
understand,
asking you. Suppose they do that, then we don't. We have 60 days. You know what?
but why, then you would disrupt the insurance. Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Aguilar, I have been at the committee meetings, just to let you know, but I have not seen that the committee has been, every single member of the committee has been here. Maybe I like the advice of Mr. Leek that says that maybe we should meet together with them. I mean, some of us, or that would maybe help with the decision here. But I just want to make sure that our employees are happy with their insurance and that they're getting the most bang for their buck, and we have clinics and we're helping them, and that's the point that we'd like probably to make.
Mr. President, I've only heard one of my colleagues indicate that he wanted to vote it up or down. I don't want to vote it up or down. As I've said, I don't think I could be any clearer. I'm not unhappy with our current provider, and we have a contract with a clause for renewal. I would just like to postpone it. I think that's what we're talking about, is postponing it. I think it's a bit premature. Some of my colleagues also think it's a bit premature, but we don't want to send the wrong message and say that we reject it. We are not rejecting their offer. Their offer will remain on the table. We just want to look at it and talk about some other things. So if it's possible, I would offer a motion to amend this motion to postpone or to table or whatever it will take. I'll let council tell us what we need to do, but I don't want to vote it yes or no. I would like to do it in the proper time frame. I don't want to say, no, we don't want Mutual Omaha, because that would be improper. That would not be true.
Well, he's placed a motion on the table, which is he's placed a motion.
Motion to postpone.
There's a motion to table the item. Is there a second?
Well, to postpone it indefinitely until further notice.
You can put whatever parameters you want on it.
That
Want
motion.
to come back next meeting. We need to get our committee meeting going.
Mr. Munoz, you can add whatever parameters you want to the motion.
Yes, exactly as he mentioned.
Motion to postpone or motion to table indefinitely or until at least a committee meeting is conducted, an insurance committee meeting. And a second by Dr. Escobedo.
Yes, correct.
You all vote on it now.
I second the motion to postpone indefinitely until further notice.
Yes, that's the motion. Yeah. Is there a second? You made the motion.
He made the motion.
He's
I
a second.
seconded.
You made the motion. What do you say?
Postpone, second.
We take action, or you?
You all vote on it any way you want.
Okay, all those to postpone. Motion to postpone item 31 until further notice. Until what?
Indefinitely until further notice.
Indefinite until further notice, okay. All those in favor signify by raising your hand and saying aye. Aye. All those against? Same sign. Motion carries 4-3. Move on to item 32. H, recommend approval of the following purchases. 32, recommend approval to purchase nurses aid school health software for BISD school nurses. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Motion to approve, second.
I second.
Discussion, Mr. Aguilar. Item 32. Mr. Aguilar? Okay.
I don't think I have 32.
Got a Rolando on there.
I have it. Yes, sir. I have some questions on this item. First one is, how much was spent last year for this? No, let's see.
There was none, Mr. Munoz.
Okay, this is a new software for $18,000. I'm looking at page 188. If anyone would care to look.
Sir.
Page 188 indicates a $23,000. We're recommending that we spend $23,892 on $18,884 for license and software. That's on page 189. Another $43.99 for a Dell server to run that hardware, I assume, software, and then $608.85 for shipping for a grand total of $23,891.85. Why are we only asking for 24 licenses? Do we not have over 50 schools that need this thing? Why only 24 licenses?
Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Dr. Z. Mr. Lay, members of the board. Same question I asked. And it has to do with funding, Mr. Munoz. We're using federal funds 211. This is the money that's remaining in our 2011 budget in the health services. We'll be coming back in July or August to get the other 26 online. We want to use our federal funding, that's this year's federal funding, to be able to utilize this. We're happy with this. It took us a long time to research this product. We're very happy with what it is. Our head nurse, Ms. Castillo, went and visited and took other people, and this is the one we're very happy with.
Well, what bothers me about this is that if you go to page 46, we just tonight we've just approved $242,000 for pentimation, and one of their main items is medical record software for $24,950, and that covers the total district.
It doesn't do what it's supposed to do.
Well,
what pentimation does is keeps immunization records, which is great. We need to keep the immunization records for all our students progressively from first through. What this program does is goes way beyond just keeping immunization records. I'm glad we have a pentimation, which keeps our permanent records. What this does is actually puts the cards into the server where, for example, we're at, a student is at some field trip. We can log in, say they're at Edinburgh or whatever. We can log into a computer system, come back, and tells us the history of the student, what's in the card from the home campus, whether they're allergic to any medications, what it is that they've done in the past, what the parents' notes are. Everything is there without having to carry that card with us all over the place. So pentimation keeps your immunization records, which is great, in a permanent file. This one gives you everything else that we need to do to be able to service our students to the very best of our ability.
And so school health, it's compatible with pentimation?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
It interfaces. Okay. Well, I just I know people that are using pentimation, and I think it does more than just keep immunization records. As I understand it, it has a student's entire medical history and any notations that someone wants to add to it.
I've researched it with Ms. Castillo. I don't know if you want to call Ms. Castillo.
Mr. Munoz, I was probably the culprit is why we had the software. I've got to go back because I asked Ms. Castillo one day if I had a field trip and a student and we didn't have the cards or we visited another campus, we would have to find somebody in the nurse's office, find the card, what they're allergic to. We wanted to be able to get on a computer, pull this child up with a password, of course, find out what they're allergic to immediately. Or if we take someone to the hospital and we have a lot of emergencies, we can get on a computer at the hospital, pull this record up, and print that whole record and the history of that child. We haven't been able to do that. We've been lucky to reach somebody on a phone. And so that's how this is how this whole thing got started, because I asked Ms. Castillo, do we have that ability? Because I was in the hospital with one of the children that got hurt, and we're calling around trying to find if he's allergic,
and apparently we didn't have that ability with the
we
old
have
version,
this ability
with the old version of pentimation.
This software, we had that ability.
But we didn't have it with the old version of pentimation, but now with the $242,000 version, we will have that ability. So what bothers me is that why would we spend $24,000 and another $18,000 or $20,000 for another so many?
Do we have that ability with pentimation?
Well, it's a new feature and that we're paying for, so if we don't need it, let's just reduce it from this $242,000. If we're planning on using this other item district-wide, then we don't need this. So let's take a deduction on this and go with one or the other, but we don't need two of them.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Dr. Z. It's not that we don't. This program is web-based, and we certainly need it. Pentimation is different, and we do need it, and they can work together. Mr. Werner and Ms. Castillo have both looked at it, and they both visited, and they both agree that they all both have their use. Pentimation is a very good backup system to have. 24,000 for 48,000 kids. It's nothing that would cost us a lot of money on pentimation part. The other one is and it does reports for us. It keeps all the reports for us. It does all the reporting for the state. It has the forms in there that we need to do for the reporting. It goes way beyond what pentimation does for us. If we wanted to limit ourselves, by all means, just limit yourself to pentimation. But I think we want to do more for our kids than just limit ourselves to pentimation. This is an area that I will sit here and discuss with you because it is for kids, and it's concerning safety of kids. And if it means saving one child's life is well worth it. And that's where I'm at with this one. I wouldn't have recommended if I didn't believe that it would help our kids, and it's long overdue. That's how I feel.
Well, we probably then we don't need the pentimation item then.
Talking to Ms. Castillo, Mr. Vernon, we do. It's something.
So then-
I'm not a computer expert, but it sure is good to have pentimation as a backup system.
So,
to
so
everything.
then to properly keep records, the user is going to have to enter data twice?
No, I'm not real sure of that, but that's not what I was
Because I
told.
don't think if you're using the other one, it's going to go into pentimation automatically.
If the
I'm
fields
almost
are
positive it's
compatible.
not.
Yeah, the fields are compatible,
But that would take an effort. That doesn't, it
And I
isn't
think
done
what Ms.
simultaneously.
Castillo was, at least she nodded a while ago, is that it is compatible with Panama.
It may be compatible, but it doesn't mean that it's going to happen as you're using it.
It may take a program change to allow the fields to change.
Ms. Galvan, I understand Los Fresnos is using Pentimation's program. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And I feel that our nurses are needed in the office. You know, they're needed to help our students, our sick students, and the more help that we can give them with computer programs would really help them. And I can assure you that this district that is so big probably also needs this program also.
Okay, so you recommend that we have both systems?
I do.
Mr. Lehman, and I don't think my colleague here is saying that it's not needed, Dr. Z, Mr. Gonzalez. I think everybody wants the best for our children, and the statements you make that is concerned for the children, whatnot. I think this is what all of us in here, including myself, are concerned for the children of BISD. It's a given. What he's asking, perhaps, and I'm asking, is also, if we're going to spend thousands of dollars on new software, if we could the district to get all these departments to say, you know what, I need this kind of service, whether it's nursing or whatever is, what other department, and say, can we all get this kind of service from your software we're going to buy from Pentimation? If not, what will it take? See, what happens now, Title I has one kind of software. You go to nurses, it's the same thing. Go to another department, they have another kind of services, and goes on and on. You see, it never centralized, we'll never coherent as to what we can do. As a result, we got 200,000 here, 40,000 here, and it goes on and on and on. So when would the district ever get together and say, you know what, I also need this kind of service. I need this kind of service. What can Pentimation, whatever we use, can we provide? That's what I think what he's talking about.
Yes.
You see, that the one program itself can serve all districts. As it is, everybody's on their own. You see, and this is what we've been trying to tell the district. This is why we had a study done with the district. That everybody goes on their own. You see, as a result, we have all these kinds of money, spending money left and right on computers and software. At the end, we don't know what's happening here and happening on here because, let me try to do this. I know that because I've been involved in programming and also.
Yes, ma'am.
What I'd like to say is, I was glad you asked the question if it interlinks or whatever technology word you use there with Panimation, and their answer was yes. And I was glad to hear that because that's going to enhance the programming. That's the way I see it.
Okay. Further discussion? I forgot what item it was.
32.
Item
Item 32.
32, okay. Motion and second to approve item 32. All those in favor signify by raising your hand saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Move on to item 11, closed meeting as pursuant to the Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, 551.082, and 551.084. Board goes into closed meeting.
And to say that it's
Board reconvenes from closed meeting to take up item 39, recommend approval of term contractual personnel for the 2006-2007 school year. Principals for Aiken, Benavides, Bright, Cromack, Longoria, and Morningside Elementary Schools, subjects to receipt of all outstanding documentations. Dr. Salkowski, would you like to name the recipients and we'll take action?
I would like to recognize them. I know some of their families have waited a couple of minutes tonight. And so, first, going to the new school, Ben Bright Elementary, which is the first wireless elementary school in the valley that I know of, and totally wireless. And I'm real happy to announce Frank Ortiz. Frank. Taking Frank's place over at Aiken Elementary will be Eduardo Martinez, Jr., EJ. Going to Benavides, since Miss Holden had retired, is going to be Sherry Stout from that other school district. I don't want to forget anybody. The next one is going to be at Cromack Elementary. We've been with an interim, and I had considered other possibilities, but when I started working with the parents, that kind of did it the other way. At Cromack Elementary, Carmelita Rodriguez. At Longoria, which has always had high scores, and Donna Akla is one of my favorite principals who retired this year and always scores well. Great teachers. Longoria, Maria Moreno Flores. And the principal, one of our at Morningside, who we're excited about, Lolita Emerson. I'd like for all those new principals to stand so we can give you a hand.
On behalf of the board, congratulations to all the individuals, and we know that you'll do a very good job. I need a motion to approve the names of these new principals as mentioned.
Move.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your hand saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Congratulations. Item 40, recommend approval of probationary contractual personnel for the 2005, 2006, and the 2006, 2007 school year teachers subject to the receipts of outstanding documentation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
There's a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second to approve item 40. All those in favor signify by raising your hand saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Item 41. Pursuant to the Texas Government Code 551071 and 551.082, consultant with the school attorney regarding pending state administrative proceedings in SG versus Brownsville ISD before a Texas Education Agency Special Education Hearing Officer, docket number 203-SE-0506. Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I move to authorize the expenditure of attorney's fees in the amount discussed in executive session regarding pending state administrative proceeding in SG versus BISD, docket number 203/SE-0506.
Can you repeat that? No.
Yes.
Okay, is there a second?
Move.
There's a motion, a second, to adopt and approve item 41 as read. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Raise your hand. Motion carries. No attorney consultation? No property? Okay, move on to announcements. Curriculum Committee meeting number 46 to be held Wednesday, June 14, 2006 at the Administration Building. 47, item 47, Budget Committee meeting to be held Thursday, June 15, 2006 at the Administration Building at 5:30. Item 48, Board Retreat to be held Saturday, June 17th, 2006 at the Administration Building at 8:30 a.m. 49, next scheduled board meeting on the Board of Trustees on Tuesday, June 20th, 2006 at the Administration Building at 5:30 p.m. 50, Budget Committee meeting to be held on Thursday, June 22nd, 2006 at the Administration Building at 5:30. 50, item 51, Special Call Board meeting to be held June 27, 2006 at the Administration Building. Doctor, the special call is for what?
On June 27th, that'll be for the adoption of the budget and a couple other agenda items, needed agenda items.
Okay. Mr. Powers, you will get us on that so needed.
Oh, the insurance meeting? Yeah, I'll call one. I'll make a date tomorrow.
Thank you. Make a date. I like that. Okay. Any additions there, Doc?
No,
It'll
no,
be
sir.
according to
Okay.
my date.
I need a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Motion second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Raise your hand. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.